Vance knelt before Arsmeria, ready to undertake the ritual of reincarnation, even at the cost of his life, so he could stay beside her in a world without conflict. A voice called out from behind, chasing after him as he walked away from the mansion. Lloyd spun around and offered to deliver the reports himself, since he was already headed to see his mother. 8 years had passed since his new life began, 1,000 years after his previous one. Once the escort knight of the Sky Empire, he now lived under the name Lloyd. He knocked and entered the room. Inside sat Mayuria, his adoptive mother and head of the Fearless family, greeting him warmly as he stepped in with the documents. Her strong mana carried charm magic that activated even without her intending it, and she apologized as a faint blush colored her cheeks. Lloyd admitted he had unconsciously resisted the spell, but Mayuria brushed off his modesty, praising him for defending against it so easily. She noted that his mana was colorless, transparent yet clearly strong enough to guard against her magic, admitting she still had more to learn as a mother. Lloyd expressed his gratitude for being taken in from the monastery despite having no blood relation, promising he would do anything he could for her. Mayuria pulled him into a tight embrace, delighted by his devotion, while Lloyd winced under the pressure of the hug. Just then, another voice cut through the room demanding to know what the two of them were doing. Kanon, Mayuria's daughter and wielder of healing magic, stood frustrated that she had been waiting while her mother rested only with Lloyd. Mayuria invited her over too, but Kanon pouted, asking why Lloyd alone got to monopolize their mother's attention. Despite her sharp words, Kanon quickly gave in and joined the embrace, unable to resist her attachment to Mayuria. Mayuria remarked that things felt different when it came to Lloyd, leaving him standing quietly aside. Kanon suggested he try calling her brother instead of using his name, while a maid mentioned that tea had been prepared. Mayuria admitted that despite everything, Lloyd remained gentle and considerate, promising she would encourage the idea if the right moment came. The two women discussed how Lloyd possessed magic ability yet never displayed it, and no one knew what attribute his colorless mana truly held. Curious, Mayuria wondered aloud what kind of magic Lloyd wielded, hoping to see it for herself someday. Kanon clung tightly to her mother, declaring she had no intention of ever giving Lloyd the chance to take her away, while Lloyd watched from a distance, wishing only to get along with her. Lloyd excused himself awkwardly, wondering how he could ever manage a normal, friendly conversation with her before deciding to go enjoy some tea instead. Marietta, the head maid and education manager for Lloyd and Kanon, poured him a cup of first flush Sentia tea, earning his thanks for a flavor that never disappointed. When she offered to leave him in peace with the other maids, Lloyd insisted she join him instead, admitting he always learned so much from her company. Marietta gently teased that he seemed skilled at invitations himself, pulling out a rock candy stick from the human empire and settling in for a proper rest together. As she poured, she explained how the first flush captured the scent of spring and the taste of young grass, leaves brought in from the Saint Empire. She added that such variety was only possible thanks to flourishing trade, grateful to enjoy teas made from ingredients gathered across different countries. Lloyd's thoughts drifted back 1,000 years to when the armistice barrier had first been raised and the war between the 7 countries had finally stopped. He remembered himself then, a knight of the Sky Empire whose pride and dignity resonated the moment he met the Empress, Arsmelia Rune-Michia. To end the endless conflict, she had cast the armistice barrier at the risk of her own life. The life-consuming magic had taken a heavy toll, seizing away a portion of her remaining lifespan, so Arsmelia and Vance made their decision together to be reborn through the ritual of reincarnation. Pressing their hands together, they vowed to witness with their own eyes a world finally free of war. And so 1,000 years passed by in that promise. Reborn into this new era, Lloyd had been adopted into the Countess family by Mayuria and had begun walking forward in this second life. Though something still weighed on him, he recalled Arsmelia's own words that she was still searching for someone, still holding on to the wish to see this world beside him. Just as the door creaked open and a voice called his name, Marietta wrapped him in a hug and asked if something was troubling him again, noting how deep in thought he always seemed lately. Though he brushed it off as nothing serious, she asked directly whether it concerned improving his relationship with Kanon, catching him completely off guard. Startled, Lloyd wondered nervously if she had somehow read straight through his heart. Marietta suggested that with the guest's arrival approaching, this might be the perfect chance for him to have a quiet conversation with Kanon while they waited. Lloyd thanked her warmly for the idea, and as they turned toward the door together, the two bumped into each other by accident. Caught off guard in the doorway, Lloyd apologized for the collision, and Kanon blushed as she brushed past him without a word. She thanked him quietly for opening the door, and he stepped back to let her go through first. Guiding her by the hand, he led her forward. Though the touch left her flustered, her cheeks burning as she stammered for him not to hold on so tightly. Left alone, he sighed at himself for the awkward exchange, wondering privately if his clumsiness had once irritated Arsmelia the same way. Kanan admitted she had spoken too sharply earlier, confessing she'd grown irritated because her precious time with her mother always shrank whenever guests came to visit. Lloyd pointed out that she truly loved her mother, and when she asked if it was the same for him, he answered simply that it certainly was. A knock interrupted them, and Lloyd straightened as the sound echoed through the room. Victor Roswald, the elder son of the Viscount serving Maria, arrived with a confident smirk greeting Kanan, and remarking that she seemed to be in good spirits. He explained he had come to discuss a matter concerning her magical strength, brushing past Lloyd as though he weren't even there. Kanan asked what exactly this discussion was about, and Victor declared that as Countess Mayuria's child, she was expected to carry outstanding innate magical talent worth witnessing firsthand. He pressed further, noting that despite sharing neither her hair color nor her eyes, Kanan was still destined to succeed Mayuria and take her place as Countess one day. Lloyd recognized the remark for what it was, an unsubtle provocation meant to unsettle her, one she didn't need to dignify with a response. Yet Kanan straightened with quiet resolve, apparently intending to accept the challenge and show her strength regardless. Victor grinned, suggesting this wasn't the right place for such a demonstration, and that they ought to relocate. He led them into the forest, explaining the mana test, a tradition long used by the fearless family to measure a person's true strength, and offered to carry it out himself. When Kanan protested that this wasn't meant to be a fight, Victor waved off her concern, telling her there was no need to take such a defensive stance. Lloyd followed close behind, prompting Victor to ask pointedly why he had bothered coming along at all. Victor allowed it grudgingly, warning him only to stay out of the way, muttering that someone with no blood tied to the Countess had no real business here, though he'd sooner or later try something regardless. Kanan, surprised, asked if he simply wanted to see how her magic worked, to which Victor proposed a wager, that if he won, he'd like to ask a favor from her at dawn, and he'd undergo the same mana test himself to prove his point, declaring that comparing directly against himself was the simplest way to confirm whether her power measured up. Lloyd stepped forward, calling out the unfairness of unleashing an evil spirit without warning, questioning whether such cowardice truly suited the noble bearing Victor claimed to hold so highly. Victor's confidence cracked as he stammered, insisting Lloyd was supposed to stay out of the way instead of interfering. Lloyd declared he would protect Kanan even if it meant breaking the rules, calling out the surprise attack as nothing close to a fair duel, unnecessary support brought along only to overwhelm them both during the test. When Victor sneered and called him a mongrel, Lloyd answered simply that Kanan was his precious family standing firm despite the insult. Victor mocked him further, claiming he could feel nothing but weak, colorless mana from him, questioning how a countess could have taken in a child with no magic at all. Kanan snapped, ordering Victor not to say another cruel word about her brother, her voice sharp with anger as she moved to shield him. Trembling with rage, Victor gritted his teeth, spitting out that being part of a countess's household without blood ties gave him no right to be called family at all. Suddenly his own mana surged out of control, the magic item he wielded overwhelming him as the evil spirit broke free from his grip entirely. Lloyd pulled Kanan close, asking her to trust him just this once, acknowledging that her healing, focused magic left her at a real disadvantage against a spirit wielding multiple attributes at once. He extended his hand, promising that if she got hurt, he would share that pain equally, and told her simply that they would fight this together. Kanan watched in disbelief as unfamiliar mana colors swirled around him, and Victor demanded to know what trick he was sneaking in, accusing Kanan of laughing at his expense. A brilliant shield burst to life around them, and Victor stared in shock, unable to understand how someone with supposedly no magic could summon anything, let alone a defense far beyond simple healing. Kanan gasped, recognizing the pattern as her brother's magic taking shape before her eyes. Victor unleashed another attack, boasting that a mere flickering flame would be erased instantly by the force of his wind, yet the attack failed to land, leaving Victor stunned as he realized his spell had somehow been cancelled outright by whatever colors Lloyd now commanded. Lloyd revealed the truth plainly, that his mana carried no color of its own, which was exactly why he could shift it into any color he needed. He warned Kanan that the next evil spirit would strike at her foot, telling her to dodge first, and they would cancel the spell together right after. Kanan moved exactly as instructed, and Victor watched in disbelief as she anticipated every attack, calling her performance nothing short of amazing. Lloyd encouraged her to stay calm and let her body feel the flow of the fight, urging her forward as she gathered her strength for the next strike. The spirits of water and darkness still loomed ahead, and Kanan surged forward with a burst of energy, determined to finish what remained of the fight. Kanan declared it over, her voice steady as she stood beside Lloyd. While Victor knelt in the dark, muttering bitterly about the lies behind this method, Lloyd confirmed the mana test's outcome had become clear, that Victor's win against the evil spirits came only from borrowing his father's strength. Enraged, Victor lunged forward with a blade in hand, screaming that none of this would have happened if Lloyd hadn't been there at all. Gripping his fist tight, Lloyd demanded to know how far Victor intended to stray from the path of chivalry, declaring flatly that he would not forgive him for this. Lloyd read the flow of battle before him, letting momentum pass without collision, using only the minimum strength required. Every movement of muscle, every creak of bone. He moved between the blade and its target, catching the strike meant for another. His shield turned aside the void, protecting the unarmed knight behind him. The enemy's sword scraped against his guard as bodies collided and steel rang out. The defeated enemy staggered back through the trees, calling him a monster before collapsing. Lloyd watched in silence, blood trailing down his cheek, his expression unreadable. He brushed off his wound, insisting it was nothing but a little blood. Kanon came running through the brush, calling out to her brother, her voice breaking with worry. She threw herself into his arms, clutching him tightly. His eyes widened in surprise at the sudden embrace, unsure how to react to her closeness. Tears welled in her eyes as she told him that his pain was her pain too. Despite having exhausted her strength using healing magic throughout the fight, she reached for him again, determined to ease what remained of his injury. Flustered by her own outburst, Kanon flailed and stammered, red-faced. Lloyd stared at her, struck by a quiet thought. She really was like an angel. Walking back together, Kanon admitted she wasn't imagining things. Ever since the battle, she had somehow been able to hear his thoughts in her mind. She asked what he had done to cause it, recalling the strange moment when her magic seemed to merge completely with his. He explained it was mana sympathy. Their mana had linked their hearts, letting them communicate through thought alone. Kanon marveled at the discovery, still trying to understand how a simple bond had formed into a contract between them. He told her it was because she had believed in him in that instant that he could draw her strength by combining their mana. That bond, he said, still connected them even now. He thanked her for fighting beside him, promising to keep protecting her from that day forward. Kanon vowed the same in return, declaring she would protect him if he was ever in danger. He countered that he would protect her more, telling her firmly not to get hurt until she was old enough to look after herself. The two shared a light, easy laugh, the tension of battle fading behind them. They agreed to return to the mansion, mindful that Victor still needed to be dealt with. At the mansion doors, the maids expressed relief, simply to see them both safe. Orders followed quickly: bring Victor back from the forest and report the incident to Mayuria. Lloyd asked to accompany them but was told to return to his room instead, as Mayuria intended a private conversation with Viscount Rosewald. A maid explained the magic circle in the room would link to one in the adjoining chamber, letting them hear everything spoken there, and offered him a seat. She reassured him it wasn't eavesdropping. The record room existed solely to watch over the family head. Mayuria began speaking of things normally reserved for someone older, telling him it was a little early for him to know about it. Though she acknowledged the talent he'd been recognized for, she wanted him to understand what truly defined the duty of a family head if he was willing to listen. Behind the closed door, Lloyd sat listening from the record room while, on the other side, a maid finished settling the last of the monthly expense reports before the real conversation began. Viscount Rosewald, Victor's father, stepped forward with confidence, claiming that among the 3 viscounts serving the Countess family, his own had developed their fiefdom the most. Urging Mayuria to check the documents herself, he moved to excuse himself quickly after delivering his claim. But Mayuria stopped him, asking if he had nothing else to report. She revealed she had investigated the matter herself. Tax revenue in his domain hadn't risen at all, despite population growth and clear development. She pressed him directly on why the numbers didn't match. Cornered, Rosewald stammered a denial, insisting he wasn't doubting her, while Mayuria reminded him that fabrication from even one noble family could damage the country's trust, the trust the Viscounts had pledged to the Sky Empire for generations. She continued, stating plainly that for such ambition to succeed, he needed only one thing: to win against the Countess family in a real fight, all while quietly building power and cutting ties behind the scenes. Victor stumbled forward, panicked, asking his father if he had failed. Mayuria remained composed as she noted coldly that he had used even his own child for this scheme. Victor tried to explain himself, but his father cut him off with a sneer, denying he'd ever given such an order. Mayuria explained further: Victor, impatient to inherit the family's holdings, had challenged Kanon to prove himself, unaware that her aptitude lay in healing, not combat. She corrected the assumption that pure blood made someone worthier, noting Kanon's mana was of the light type and that she would grow strong enough to protect herself as a noble in time. Mayuria declared that gender made no difference in who protected, and who was protected nobles fought for pride, but above all, for the people of their domain. Her own children, Kanon and Lloyd, she said, were more than capable of that duty. She asked if her point hadn't been made clear enough already, then delivered her verdict. Rosewald's scheming would be handed to the Imperial Interrogation Office, and his son would be sent to a boarding school for re-education. Rosewald ground his teeth in silent fury before Mayuria dismissed him, stating there was nothing more to discuss. He sneered on his way out, muttering that people like her only had luck from inheriting past generations' work, calling her haughty before storming off. A maid shivered at what she'd witnessed, remarking on Rosewald's expression as he left. Back in the record room, Lloyd sat frozen as the maid knocked, startled by what he'd overheard. Another maid praised how magnificently Mayuria had handled it all. Mayuria then turned to Lloyd directly, asking if he'd heard everything too before admitting quietly that she had brought him there for a reason. Without saying it outright, she had played the role of a kind mother. Also, he would understand his purpose was to protect Kanon. Lloyd admitted he knew there were people who disliked the fact she had brought him here at all. Yet even so, hearing her conversation had made him feel proud to call her mother Mayuria. He told her plainly that he wanted to stay, to protect this house. As she walked ahead of him through the halls, she reminded him that when he grew older he would carry the same responsibility she did protecting Kanon until she became an adult herself. He grinned, admitting his mother was incredibly strong, but promised he would work just as hard to become strong in his own right. Miria's eyes softened, tears gathering as she said she was glad to hear him say that. She added quietly that he didn't need to worry about her, she was strong enough on her own though. Something in her voice trailed off, unfinished. Elsewhere, Kanon apologized to Marietta for scaring her earlier while another maid knocked gently, checking in on Miss Kanon. Kanon beamed, insisting it hadn't been scary at all, her brother had saved her. After all, as the maids exchanged a warm, knowing glance, Marietta excused herself politely, thanking Kanon in return while another maid urged Lloyd not to worry about them and to go on ahead. The group gathered close together, sharing a light, affectionate moment, agreeing warmly that they would stay friends from now on. Kanon suddenly suggested they all take a bath together, herself, her brother, and everyone else, catching Lloyd completely off guard. His surprise met with a startled splash. Lloyd readied himself for bathing beside Marietta, feeling nervous though submissive toward her request. Marietta softly directed Lloyd inside the bath, his face blushing while tension grew. She stepped closer cautiously, her presence intimidating Lloyd, who observed her aura had altered. Marietta examined Lloyd's forehead, anxious his fever might be increasing, his pulse racing fast. They lastly entered into the heated water jointly. Lloyd flustered, Marietta composed. The scene tense. Lloyd timidly followed Marietta, sensing he couldn't oppose the flow of events. He leaped inside the bath behind her, unsure whether he ought to delay more. Marietta gripped a younger girl, proposing to clean Lloyd's hair as mother cared tenderly. Lloyd welcomed the assistance, amazed when everyone moved together in the bath calmly. All three ladies got ready to help Lloyd, making him flustered yet comforted. Lloyd rested anxiously, recognizing it became his turn after Kanon finished bathing. Kanon walked toward him holding a towel, asking where she ought to start first. Lloyd paused, noting her heavenly presence as she readied to assist carefully. Kanon prompted him softly that his hand had guarded her earlier, clutching soap. She started washing him mindfully, inquiring about any itchy spots. Lloyd still flustered. Lloyd concluded with Kanon, feeling both relieved and anxious about the following turn. Marietta walked forward, expressing joy and anxiety while preparing to clean Lloyd. She beamed warmly, thanking Lloyd for bathing, with everyone displaying tender affection. Marietta started massaging shampoo inside his hair, making Lloyd feel relaxed and sleepy. She gently cut and styled his hair, noting it had grown slightly too long. Throughout dinner, Kanon wiped sauce off Lloyd's face, displaying care and focus. Lloyd observed Marietta looked upset about losing her role, yet he comforted her inwardly. He sampled the fish, noting the meal had improved significantly compared to long past. Kanon softly called Lloyd's focus, silently attempting to share the dish with him. Lloyd smiled, recognizing he and Kanon were finally connecting, letting him pamper her gently. Kanon consumed her share of food. Lloyd reassured her, pledging support for next time. Marietta resolved to help make food simpler for Lloyd, scheming ahead with care. Kanon voiced her wish to cook herself, set to enjoy and manage her meals. The girls talked about helping and joining, consenting to contribute with joy and teamwork. Lloyd and Kanon beamed, united in preparing a great meal to surprise him together. Lloyd pondered on the dinner, joyful yet conscious the brief peace couldn't remain forever. He wondered whether Arsmaria had been reborn anywhere in the world set to find her. Lloyd understood he required aid for his quest, glancing toward Marietta with focus. He walked to her, sensing she held something vital to explain to him. Marietta directed Lloyd to drop by the study before sleep, hinting toward future counsel. Marietta concluded, cleaning Lloyd, pointing out soap on his shoulder, calling him quiet and submissive. Lloyd finally unwound, believing he could take a rest following a hard day. He rested on his bed, scanning through books regarding magical beasts and forests nearby. Lloyd found a beast named Bastite, a guardian god of an ancient mountain town. Hearing dinner announced, Lloyd shut the book and ready to depart, curiosity remaining about Bastite. Lloyd rushed toward the study, sensing that a crucial topic waited urgently from his mother. Abruptly, a person placed their hands across his eyes, startling him and causing an immediate reaction. His mother completely showed herself, glowing with warmth and authority, which took him off balance. Expressing regret for his absence, Lloyd detailed the tasks that kept him occupied before. She comforted him tenderly, while Lloyd declared his loyalty, guarding Kanan with deep devotion. Hearing mindfully, Lloyd took in his mother's words, sensing her appreciation and eagerness to assist. Unwavering, he named the exact individual he sought, explaining why the matter was pressing. Grasping his determination, his mother pledged complete assistance, set to aid him reaching targets. Revealing the desired individual's name, Lloyd strengthened their joint mission and feeling of purpose. Shackles instantly emerged, binding him, while a shadowy figure drew near, generating a feeling of risk. Talking became hard for Lloyd, understanding, revealing the name carried heavy outcomes past comprehension. Thinking aloud, he asked if the rebirth ritual restricted him from disclosing past memories. Anger growing, he stretched toward the history volume, hoping the knowledge was noted clearly. Hugging him closely, his mother provided comfort while he struggled against unseen magical bonds. Lloyd apologized once more while she comforted him, noting he need not reveal everything forcefully. Feeling comforted, Lloyd's spirit quieted as his mother spoke, using warm and soothing words, applying soft magic. She aided him to relax, showing her care and tender empathy successfully. Inquisitive, he inquired if magic could assist locating the person he was seeking urgently. She advised care, noting the spell might work, but recommended prudent use prior to testing it. Unveiling a hidden volume, she clarified it was concealed inside the manor for search tasks. Firmly, Lloyd started reading the magical volume, trusting it held the key clues he required. Walking cautiously at night, he gripped his mother's hand to prevent slipping on the path. She detailed the volume's origin, given by her father, still keeping its magical power, locating a magic circle outside. They checked it mindfully, and Lloyd asked about its planned function. She explained the ritual, clarifying it involved the stars and asking answers from the heavens. Examining the stars together, Lloyd and his mother ready to ignite the magical circle mindfully. Clarifying the demand for blood, she detailed the seeker job needed to finish the ritual. Stepping up, Lloyd pricked his finger carefully, comforting himself while he filled the needed magical job. Using soft magic, his mother cured him right away, healing the small cut with tender care. Guiding him, she highlighted, concentrating on the individual he sought while she cast the spell. Focusing together, they ready to watch the magical circle, searching for signs from the skies above. She clarified that the ritual could show more than stars, implying it hidden knowledge. Lloyd acted as the seeker, giving his blood carefully to turn on the magical process successfully. Focusing completely, he concentrated on the person he sought while the ritual power flowed outward. A glow emerged, showing the person lived in the same time, but it quickly vanished. Spotting the glow, Lloyd realized it hadn't disappeared entirely, but instead drifted away slightly. His mother disclosed that the light split into 6, meaning 6 figures had to be found. Meanwhile, the remaining princesses emerged across different realms, each unaware of the other's shared life. In the Holy Realm, one portion showed clearly, revealing her existence inside that large realm setting. Further portions emerged in the evil and human realms, each holding a piece of the soul. Viewing leftover portions across the Oni realm, Lloyd saw the scattered presence and their true sights. In the beast realm, he spotted several portions, validating the people he sought were spread far. Floating smoothly, one portion emerged in the dragon realm, untouched by any power from below, set firmly. Lloyd swore to track all portions and join them back with Arsmaria forever. The 7 realms stayed in endless war across the lands during Sky Empire year 1014. Vance Shutararu made it to the royal castle, called by the ruler to talk about pressing matters. The ruler expressed her wish to see a world fully clean of combat and strife. She asked Vance about the potential results if all fights and disputes instantly vanished. Vance admitted doubt but promised to lead the ruler, hoping for a clear time together. The ruler swore to picture the future for Vance if he could not imagine it himself. 4 years passed prior to Vance meeting Sky Ruler Arsmeria Rune Michia directly at the Great Castle. Citizens observed fearfully as the ruler turned on the famous Armistice Shield to halt all battles. Vance sprinted frantically across the castle, hoping to reach the ruler before the shield fully took force. Shouting her name, Vance pleaded with the ruler to stop, fearing things might happen far too fast. Fried readied to see the ruler, carrying his job as guard and defender of Her Majesty. Vance confronted Fried, asking why he failed to stop the ruler from using the Armistice Shield. Fried clarified the shield was a means to halt combat, even if it risked their ruler's life. The ruler gave up herself to reach the peaceful future she wanted for the world. She dared Vance, asking he face her directly, proving his heart to guard Her Majesty truly. Vance declared his wish to keep serving, guarding the following ruler as head of the order. Fried thought about wanting to battle beside Vance once again. Recalling their common history, Vance comforted Fried that honor and respect arrived easily, even without proving himself again. The ruler laid inside the room, Vance stepping to her after the Armistice Shield launch. She grieved over her brief rule, feeling remorse even after reaching peace and guarding the world. The 7 rulers accepted peace, crediting Vance's strength in ending the land-wide conflicts. Vance wondered if enduring until the formal meeting of the realms would even be viable. The ruler prompted him that merely a few hours remained prior to her soul vanishing completely. She pondered on the count of 4 years following deploying the Armistice Shield. Vance confessed the peace felt short and feared the combat wouldn't truly stop fully. The ruler watched Vance, seeing his voice stayed quiet despite the emotional weight of recent events. Vance stated he wouldn't weep, reminding the ruler she already knew the reason behind his choice. He offered his own life to guard hers until her time fully finished. Keeping his oath, Vance clarified that after that day, he turned into a new, stronger person. The ruler, tears within her eyes, named him a fool and the world's ultimate idiot. Vance stated his wish to carry out the ritual of reincarnation along with the ruler. He swore to view the world she pictured, no matter if it demanded a century or more. The ruler asked why he would offer such a vow filled with silent doubt. Vance comforted her that this wasn't the end for them, clutching her hand tightly. They shared a soft moment, united in hope, readying to face the future together. Vance was reborn 1,000 years after, starting a search for Arsmeria's split soul. Applying hidden magic, he discovered her soul was split into 6 distinct parts. Determined, Vance resolved he wouldn't surrender until he found every part. Even centuries after, he kept up his quest while joining magic academies to obtain knowledge. He understood that finding her meant tracking several people, each keeping a piece of her soul. Traveling carefully inside dense woods, Lloyd feels a giant, deadly beast dropping from above. Suddenly, a massive monster leaps forward, crushing branches while Lloyd easily dodges every hit. Grinning proudly, Lloyd readied his first strike while the monster charges fiercely toward him, dodging quickly while airborne. He glides smoothly while the monster struggles to correct its path. With clean precision, Lloyd cuts through the air, beating the monster and staying totally collected. Trapped inside a narrow ravine, Lloyd gets surrounded while the deadly monster observes him closely. Launching a second move, he jumps high, barely dodging the beast's sharp and lethal blow. Mindfully studying shadows, Lloyd figures out a clear and safe route over the fierce beast attack. Touchdown strategically on top of the monster, Lloyd claims triumph against Bastith past a tough and wild fight. Watching in shock, the monster displays surprise while Lloyd quietly rides ahead through the forest. Boldly holding the monster, Lloyd sees its huge growth since their very first meeting together. Kindly grinning, he recalls his 8-year-old dream to finally make peace with the monster. Lloyd inquires regarding the monster's ways, closely watching its replies and actions toward his questions. Sitting atop the monster, he describes his plans to join the World Magic College. Inquisitive, the monster hints it wishes to travel with Lloyd on his trip to the school. Voicing praise, the monster praises Lloyd's power, teasing him about following it in future journeys. Grinning setly, Lloyd declines any different title and promises they shall surely meet again. Heading back to the manor, he feels relieved, coming right on schedule for breakfast quickly. Spotting the smell of soup, Lloyd instantly feels pulled toward the freshly cooked morning food. Kenan softly asks Lloyd to taste the dish, having a sweet moment together happily. Lloyd samples the rich tastes, amazed, while Kenan watches calmly, smiling with quiet hope nearby. Smiling warmly, Kanon reminds him to ready mindfully for the food while standing beside attentively. She requests a prayer prior to the table, stocked with a rich breakfast spread. Expressing thanks, the family offers appreciation for their food and honors blessings from above. Leaving the manor, Lloyd and Kanon wave goodbye toward Marietta and the loyal home staff. Comforting them, Marietta pledges to Lloyd that the whole household shall ever stay present for them. Voicing true thanks and love, Lloyd speaks to everyone before departing toward the magic school carefully. Marietta fixes Lloyd's tie, instructing him proper habits expected from a noble in any setting. Promising to try his best, Lloyd vows not to embarrass the high, fearless family watching curiously. The monster looks confused by its huge size compared with past meetings before. Lloyd clarifies that Bastith, the Lord of Cats, will carry them quickly to the magic school. Kanon holds tightly, while Lloyd reassures her that riding will prove totally safe during movement. Flying up into the air, they leave on Bastith's back, waving goodbye to the waiting manor. Lloyd and Kanon enter inside the World Magic School, wondering at massive spires and soaring beasts above. Pupils arrive from all 7 realms, each readied hard for the tough entrance test ahead. Lloyd travels a giant magic beast, flying high while steering Kanon safely across school lands. Kanon struggles to hold balance, sliding a bit while Lloyd grips her safely, blocking any drops. Safely on the ground, Lloyd and Kanon view the school, waiting for tests that lay ahead across the courtyard. Lloyd carries Kanon, pulling curious looks and quiet talks from nearby pupils around. Blushing deeply, Kanon feels shy as the crowd watches their rare, eye-catching arrival mindfully watching the crowd. Lloyd stays steady while scanning for potential issues or sudden troubles nearby. A skilled pupil, Aurelis Grandshark, shows up with her fast dragon, blocking their path neatly across the square. Naming herself, Aurelis discloses her rank as the Evil Empire Princess, signaling upcoming rival matches soon. Lloyd meets a new pupil, Elise Rosencrantz, who demands focus and gives directions to others nearby. Elise steps out as the Holy Empire Princess, shining authority and power, pulling everyone's careful focus instantly. Watching closely, Lloyd sees Aurelis and Elise matching up, strain building between holy and evil princesses. Nearby, he spots the Beast Empire Princess, feeling her huge magic dragon-related energy force nearby clearly. A few other princesses remain present while the Oni Empire Princess stays away. Completing the meeting's picture, Lloyd realizes that royal lines from every land have met together here for the coming test. Past conflict exists between the holy and evil realms, likely stirring a major fight very soon. This test could expand to a global problem, pulling focus and worry from all participating lands. Aurelis Grandshark aims to settle fights firmly, preparing for an unavoidable hard fight with rivals. Elise Rosencrantz steps up, sure of her holy magic, getting ready a planned magical fight properly. Asking about his readiness, Elise notes that Lloyd stays far too young to enter this academy. Mocking Elise, Aurelis calls her the small holy princess, showing their active feud with smart humor. Both princesses unleash their magic forces together, making dragons and energy to face one another. Hard preparing carefully, they trade a chain of commandments, boosting their fight and raising immense magical presence. Starting her first move named Silence, Elise makes overlapping waves, leaving quiet echoing across the place. Both princesses' spells surprisingly fail to trigger, shocking them and bringing confusion during their hard clash. Kanon asks about Lloyd's action while he stays peaceful, quietly watching the sudden magical event calmly nearby. Through muting echo, Lloyd cancels the spell, blocking harmful results from the joint magical energy strikes. Comfort spreads as he understands the worst outcome got averted without injury to anyone. Shyly, Aurelis confesses dropping interest in the fight, closing the magical match quietly without more conflict. Elise asks pardon truly for bringing up years, confessing that it stays early for her to enter. Smiling, Aurelis answers, sharing that she looks ahead to ending the rival match. Right another day, willpower shines inside her eyes, displaying clearly that she isn't done facing the Holy Princess. Watching quietly, Lloyd notes that someone crude tampered with their magic from behind without getting caught. Preparing to go, Lloyd walks with Kanon, worried he might have pulled far too much focus earlier. Aurelis boldly states her goal, declaring she will turn into the top one day. Clearly driven, pupils filled the arena with energy, excitedly looking to the start of the key testing phase. Walking forward, Matilda Lindworm held focus, her presence signaling the start of official events firmly. Naming herself, she tested every student carefully, her keen gaze checking their readiness and skill. Pointing out students' achievements, she reminded everyone must meet firm requirements without allowance. Princesses stood proudly resolved to handle trials, their talents set for the hard tests ahead. The team of princesses gathered, keeping composure while royal family members hid their secret magical powers. Explaining the mana determination test, Matilda detailed how 5 pupils would show their magical skills, speaking to the gathered crowd. She wished candidates good luck while stressing fairness during the review step. Driven, Lloyd weighed every option, determined to discover any detail regarding Ars Maria while succeeding. With the exam starting, his sister remained close while he got ready to display his talents. Prior to the test starting, Kanon stepped to her brother, hoping to enter the same team together. Gerdo answered softly yet playfully, displaying focus while showing care and worry for her heart. Feeling flustered, Kanon paused, apologizing as the quick nearness caught her by surprise suddenly. Another pupil argued, yet Gerdo smoothly backed Kanon, taking power and command over the event. Naming himself fully, he built a bond with Kanon, winning her praise and rising regard, feeling a keen wish. Gerdo got ready to show his strong talents before the coming test. Bravely, he named himself as the Marquis House's 3rd child, pulling focus from everyone there. Kanon and Lloyd judged him closely, asking about both his past and his high house line, clearing his rank. Gerdo detailed he belonged to a high realm, getting cautious regard as a result. Brightly chuckling, he comforted Kanon that both were highborn, making her feel less worried. Grasping her higher rank, Kanon asked pardon while Lloyd shifted his conduct neatly to display honor, speaking to Verona and Balgus with attention. He displayed honor while pointing out their presence formally. Gerdo detailed that faith among peers made sure all 3 would pass in being fully passed. Balgus backed Kanon, stating faith in her magic talents and boosting her brave resolve. Giving a direct prompt, Gerdo asked Kanon to join them for a joint dish later. Kanon called out to her brother, indicating worry as the rising event grew increasingly hard around them. Gerdo clarified regional habits, detailing how lower-ranking persons could share views politely with superiors. Stepping forward, Lloyd Fearless named himself as Kanon's protective brother, set to step in firmly, speaking to Gerdo directly. He stressed the friction of obeying another realm's marquis totally without terms. Grasping his view, Gerdo got ready for a fair match while weighing Lloyd's thoughts carefully. Facing Lloyd, Gerdo asked whether an evil empire marquis could truly stand lower politically. Lloyd detailed that the Sky Realm lacked a king today, giving past weight to the evil king. Getting ready for the coming test, both sides aimed to show who owned better magical talents. Gerdo displayed direct attention, wishing Kanon success while displaying he was invested in her output, valuing the backup. Kanon readied herself proudly, set to meet the test with full focus. Playfully upset, Kanon claimed her brother must show command, claiming respect among others there right away. She stressed her brother's skill, declaring him the top in the Sky Realm and top tier globally, standing high. Lloyd quietly accepted the praise, thinking deeply about his duty and role truly. Preparing herself, he walked forward to guard Kanon, acting as her guard and firm protector. Resolving to guard her fully, Lloyd guaranteed no injury would reach her through the testing phase. Lloyd and Kanon enjoyed their victory pass, finishing the first test near the giant guardian fox. Thinking about Mayuria's success, they felt she must have also cleared her tests easily. Driven to grow, Lloyd practiced harder to let Mayuria reclaim her rightful elder rank. Both swore to offer their best force in the following test together boldly. The memory displayed Mayuria's youth, her magic talents, school success, and coming home early wisely. Kanon displayed irritation, still feeling upset about the sudden events that took place earlier that day. Reacting heavily to teasing from a peer, Kanon's temper flared while Lloyd watched quietly nearby. A male pupil displayed striking fire magic, catching Lloyd and his young sister right away. Kanon judged his skills carefully, spotting his cool nature behind the strong fire display. Lloyd evaluated other pupils' magic types, taking note of strengths, flaws, and key perks systematically in class. Watching his magic talent closely, Lloyd and Kanon valued the purity and top power displayed. Praise toward her talents made Kanon blush, admitting her fine command and striking magic skill. Lloyd praised Kanon's talent in mana tuning while the guardian fox silently watched the scene. Kanon struggled, trying to shield the weak mana crystal, displaying her fast reactions neatly. Let Fiancée Primrose watched quietly, studying the pupil's actions and progress mindfully during the magic test. Kanon's strong mana strained the magic device, almost bringing it to shatter from pressure. Releasing his mana, Lloyd amazed everyone, displaying striking control and fine command of magic power. Both Kanon and Let Fiancée were stunned by how he held control over huge strength. Lloyd chose to go on with tests quietly, displaying modest habits while displaying great magic skills successfully. Only Kanon and Lloyd could truly see his top magic power among other pupils. Let Fiancée focused on Lloyd's mana, feeling its depth, force, and rare magic traits carefully. Yuyuka Amanagi showed up quickly, startling Let Fiancée while studying the pupil's test sheets with deep interest. Showing her head status, Yuyuka casually checked each student's magic skill with strong focus and thought. She spotted one pupil cast a huge wave of mana earlier, pulling her interest. Pondering the rare amber-white mana, Yuyuka asked about the student's overall weight and magic skill closely. Let Fiancée check the temporary mana totals, understanding they could prove wrong or perhaps tricky unexpectedly. Focusing on Lloyd's file, she validated her past thoughts regarding his wild magic talents correctly. The pressure broke Kanon's magic crystal, showing the scale of her huge magic skill clearly. Yuyuka ordered Let Fiancée to gather the tested pupils' magic devices and drop them to her lab. Thinking about Lloyd's talent, Yuyuka wondered what tricks he might show during the practice fight later. Seiba Mitsurugi details the battle test where pupils send their mana into a separate arena. He guides candidates to walk into the set magic ring, pointing out outcomes might transport them. Rin, the second princess, glows with joy, eager to meet her brother later. Seiba notes he also keeps a sister, hoping relatives stay clear of fights. Grabbing the boy's interest, he offers appreciation to the pupil, asking him to step onto the shift ring. Lloyd focuses deeply, preparing for the magic fight, treating it just like a true clash. He scans the empty land mindfully, seeing the open match space prior to making any step. Gerdo steps out from behind a sharp stone, stating Lloyd will act as his stepping block. He details the opening, proudly noting he now holds the chance to defeat Lloyd flatly. Gerdo warns that this point is where Lloyd will surely be made to quit. Lloyd stands firm, sure he cannot accept loss despite the opponent's extreme pride. Gerdo taunts him, asserting that mana force determines the magic clash, leaving zero path for win. Lloyd stays focused, realizing Gerdo makes light of him due to his weak look of magic power. He readies to retaliate, knowing Gerdo aims to scorch the illusion constantly to defeat him. Gerdo shoots the Firefinger bullet, a focused flame strike directed straight toward Lloyd's target form. He chuckles, confident the strike will break Lloyd, mocking his power without displaying any pause. Lloyd activates First Guardian style, forming a safe ring of protection around himself. Waiting for the hit, he watches the flames mindfully, studying Gerdo's strike steps to guess each dangerous turn neatly. Gerdo is stunned. Lloyd stays up despite pulling huge strength from the Flame Demon Lord. Lloyd details the strike's force is bound because Gerdo's mana is drawn solely from himself. Gerdo states his intent to destroy Lloyd, summoning Fire Ghost to burn the entire arena. He creates giant fire spirits, dividing them neatly to totally trap and hard-press Lloyd. The called fire spirits pursue Lloyd, built to burn him fully and block any chance to flee. Lloyd uses a swap move, leaving only his mind behind to avoid hits from all sides. He smartly tricks the ghosts into hitting each other, making them crash and get destroyed. Lloyd glides carefully, telling Gerdo against looking only at the front while stepping behind him. He faces Gerdo, asking if the tough fight ought to stop now or go on further. Gerdo pauses, amazed, as Lloyd's smart method and control push against the rival's past firm pride. He backs up cautiously, rethinking the duel, due to Lloyd's unexpected tactical moves and method. The view shifts, showing Gerdo and Lloyd's thoughts beside children, highlighting lessons that were gained. Gerdo admits there is no turning back, giving totally to his actions with firm resolve. He voices pain, showing the hurt linked with being the third son in his house. Lloyd sees the flames have turned totally dark, feeling a major shift in magic force.
he names the dark force as strong darkness mana. Realizing Gerdo's strike is far more lethal, Gerdo calls the flame demon Lord, aiming to burn everything with strong, punishing fire. He summons the sinful fireball, fusing his flame ghosts and dark energy into a giant strike. Gerdo names it as the third strike, set to finish the clash flatly without pause.
Rudius Greyrat declines to withdraw, summoning all his energy to cast Sinful Fireball. He shoots the fiery strike at Lloyd, resolved to conclude the fight definitively. Lloyd Estrella blocks the fireball effortlessly, focused and aware he must avoid defeat. He strikes back with Third Guardian style, matching Rudius's power using precise control. Lloyd deflects the magic using Lunar Reflection, his reaction shining like a full moon. Lloyd Estrella lifts his hand, preparing to reveal his complete magical power. He gathers energy, shocking Rudius, who cannot believe anyone wields demon god power without a pact. Lloyd applies the first and second Guardian styles, generating protective shields for himself and his target. He triggers the third Guardian style, turning the rival's magic into a blade to counterattack. Rudius struggles while Lloyd pushes him back, compelling him to face his overwhelming strength. Rudius's hands start to fade, showing the weakening effects of this fierce magical conflict. He struggles, releasing a powerful spell with all remaining energy toward Lloyd. Lloyd counters through skillfully redirecting the attack across the rocky battlefield, maintaining control. Lloyd examines Gerdo's repeated attacks, noting that defending takes less mana for a skilled fighter. He realizes the fight is an illusion, needing careful mana management to hold his defenses. Lloyd Estrella starts teleporting, marking the completion of this magical examination. He arrives inside a mysterious hall, realizing he has not returned to his body yet. Rudius notices the imperial princesses of the 6 empires approaching inside the hall. He stands in the middle, uncertain about the true aim of this sudden scene. Lloyd slowly turns, spotting a familiar figure behind him, increasing his uncertainty. Rudius is bound in chains, experiencing a familiar, intense feeling from a previous encounter. He sees the exact scene repeating, with a mysterious girl entangled within the chains. Rudius watches as the girl seems confused and distressed, struggling to comprehend her situation. Kanan calls out desperately, recognizing her brother, revealing her anxiety and relief. Rudius finally sees Kanan safe, releasing a sigh of relief as all danger fades. Lloyd remembers his arrival at the school, feeling the weight of his duty and expectations. He realizes coming here was a wise choice, spotting Arsmeria nearby, her presence comforting. Kanan appears, her face filled with recognition and comfort upon seeing her brother. Lloyd remains silent, unsure how to reply, watching the sudden reunion before him. Kantan voices her worry for him during the combat test. Admiring his strength and grit, Kantan apologizes, admitting she is overly anxious, her face flushed with emotion. Lloyd reassures her quietly, thinking of his duty to protect and keep her from crying. He promises to stay by her side forever, pledging to shield Kanan until the very end.
Kanan enters the academy, discovering a special building designated for elite students. A smiling girl welcomes Kanan, stating she knew Kanan would join this academy, eventually feeling shy and flustered. Kanan is comforted as the boy promises to stay near. Watching them quietly, Kuzunoha Tilfa and Yuzuriha Tilfa feel curious about their growing bond. The twin princesses keep watching Kanan and her friends, tracking their interactions with careful focus. Kanan and Lloyd notice the beast princesses, wondering why they stand so close nearby. Kanan introduces herself formally, sharing her Sky Empire lineage, presenting Lloyd as her protective brother, observing closely. The twin princesses wonder if Kanan and Lloyd are true blood siblings. Kuzunoha Tilfa and Yuzuriha Tilfa clearly state they are sisters. Introducing themselves politely to Kanan, they explain age matters little between them, showing equality while highlighting their deep family bond. Lloyd admires the sisters' tight bond, agreeing that having a friend as a sister is wonderful. Kuzunoha Tilfa hugs Yuzuriha Tilfa warmly, declaring her sister is also her most cherished companion. The sisters show joy, and Kanan observes, realizing how deeply they truly understand each other. The twin princesses mention they are part of the special department, observing new classmates. They note, no imperial princess is left isolated, offering support for students around them. Lloyd detects a guard watching from afar, mindful of the strong beastman's vigilant presence. He senses pressure from the nearby beastmen, yet finds no malice coming from the princesses. Kanan and Lloyd step behind a magic curtain to block any prospective interference from spells. The guard carefully monitors their steps, analyzing every motion Kanan and Lloyd perform together. Twin princesses explain they can smell the distinct scent of a powerful beastman nearby. They describe how Bast resides in the forest near the Fearless estate, carrying them. Forming a pact with a Sky Empire citizen is tough for the king of Cat's beast. Lloyd steps forward cautiously, unsure how the creature will react to his attempt to mount. The sisters sniff Lloyd, verifying he is honest and his intent seems completely sincere. Now they conclude the beastman's aura is reliable, implying the cat will likely accept and cooperate. The princesses bring up cat powder while watching Lloyd, wondering about its purpose in this scenario. Lloyd attempts stopping Kuzunoha and Yuzuriha from approaching Bast, while the giant beast waits patiently. He explains, giving Bast silver vine liquor earlier, worried about its potential effect on him. Bast reassures him the drink has minimal effect, calming everyone present with gentle words. Kanon reminds the princesses to keep proper decorum despite the drink tasting surprisingly good today. Kanon teases Lloyd to remain calm, while the laughing princesses watch the scene unfold closely. Lloyd formally greets Bast, honoring the beast guardian as a respected and unusual warrior. After gathering details about Bast, the princesses decide it is time to depart now. Waving goodbye cheerfully, the twin princesses promise to meet everyone again at school tomorrow. Kanon watches Lloyd, noticing he interacts naturally with the twin princesses and their allies. Lloyd and Kanon choose to follow the others. Agreeing to proceed together without delay now, two instructors stand waiting at the academy's gate preparing to welcome Kanon and Lloyd officially. Letitia-sensei and Seba-sensei extend congratulations, acknowledging Kanon and Lloyd's success and academic progress. Kanon receives praise regarding her grade mana affinity and illusion combat score among nobility. Amanagi-sensei verifies Lloyd's mana affinity and announces a future retest to track his growth. Lloyd receives warnings to remain cautious if choosing to go, considering potential dangers ahead. Seba-sensei discusses Lloyd's illusion test score, turning the topic toward his combat skills directly. The deputy director, overseeing the examinations, personally requests Lloyd's presence to discuss vital student matters. She stresses the meeting's importance, highlighting her direct role and the urgency of this discussion. The noble title, Eyes of Jurisdiction from the Dragon Race, conveys a daunting presence of power. The deputy director highlights Lloyd's rare clear mana and emphasizes his remarkable research value. Now appreciation is extended to Lloyd for joining the school, replacing the headmaster's personal note properly. The director shifts focus toward the primary topic, stressing the weight of this talk for everyone. Kanon and Lloyd ready themselves attentively as the deputy director starts asking questions directly and sternly. She informs Lloyd that a high-priority task exists, demanding his complete focus during this crucial talk. Boldly, Leon entered the academy's primary office, requesting permission for special enrollment. The chief carefully reviewed his form and stated it exceeded allowed enrollment limits. She mentioned an objection prevented any ranking of the 6 imperial princesses above 7th place. Leon requested the princesses join his class, and his petition gained instant approval. He requested her support to ensure a safe environment for the princesses' studies. Inspecting a large map, Leon noted 7 empires had forged alliances, promising lasting peace. Thinking of the princesses, he realized private matters could not interfere with their school duties. Firmly, Leon promised his class would uphold proper discipline despite obstacles that might arise. Unexpectedly, a young lady named Mayu appeared in the hallway, surprising Leon instantly there. She clarified she was merely temporarily teaching, reassuring Leon while keeping her cool composure. Recognizing Mayu as his mother, Leon noted her disguised appearance while remaining fully aware. Surprised, he inquired about her reason for being present at the academy so abruptly. Miu explained she returned as a temporary teacher assigned specifically to the elite department. She assured Leon she handled discussions in the capital, preventing any trouble back home. Showing affection, Leon embraced her, appreciating the loving, supportive side of her presence fully. Lloyd and Kanon spotted Mayu as their mother. Feeling comforted by her soothing presence, Mayu stated she must stay objective, prioritizing her job as teacher over maternal feelings. She instructed them to address each other formally, enforcing proper manners within the school. She reminded them they officially became students of the magic school, taking classes daily. Mayu advised they walk toward the dorms while sharing news and recent events. Mayu urged Kanon and Lloyd to jump onto her chest whenever walking felt tiring. Kanon promised to support her completely, offering full effort while following Mayu-sensei's direction carefully. They reached the noble housing area, prepared to step into quarters for every represented realm. Mi pointed toward the Sky Empire's home, guiding them directly to the proper quarters. They were welcomed warmly back, marking their safe return under Miayu's caring eye faithfully. Two maids introduced themselves as Soyer and Cosette, offering aid to the fearless household. Leon observed the maids, asking whether they were also enrolled as Magic Academy students. They clarified being second-year scholarship pupils, working duties to cover tuition costs through labor. Prepared for daily tasks, the maids showed readiness to contribute efficiently to household chores. Kanon showed passion for cooking, asking for the chance to work alongside the hard-working maids. Leon impressed elders with his conduct who were charmed by his responsible, gentle nature. He asked Mayu for approval to explore the grounds alongside his faithful companion, Tito. Mayu permitted Tito to roam freely, offering adequate space for the creature to run. Observing closely, Leon praised the prepared zone, noting layout included a dedicated space for Tito. A guest from the Holy Empire arrived, drawing focus as an official guard approached swiftly. Tito ran ahead, leading Leon and Kanon toward the approaching figure with impressive speed and urgency. Claudina, guard to Holy Imperial Princess Elysial Denka, formally introduced herself to Leon politely. Leon asked about the reason behind Claudina's surprise visit arriving at such an odd time. Claudina explained that the elite division, including princesses and their guards, formed a single class. She noted the division also contained top-ranking students alongside other chosen representatives for classes. Claudina clarified Elysial Denka had targeted the top scorer during the recent trials. Even Ryunia Denka, Dragon Princess, declined the freshman representative position, passing it to others instead. Leon realized a top-scoring student existed outside the known 6 imperial princesses. He admitted having no extra info about ranks, showing his confused and worried look clearly. Claudina thanked Leon for responding and politely asked pardon for the sudden questioning. Aurelius Denka, the demon princess, battled for top place in the trial, showing great ambition. Later, she shared her thoughts with the other princesses, clarifying her plans politely and clearly. Ryunia Denka instructed Leon that she wished to fight alongside the right person in combat. Claudina alerted Leon that the elite department students would start lessons scheduled for tomorrow promptly. The entry ceremony was set for 3 days later for all pupils in the division. Claudina advised Leon to exercise caution when dealing with the Demon Empire princess during upcoming events. Kanon woke gently, smiling brightly as she greeted her brother Lloyd, her eyes filled with tenderness. Lloyd stirred in his bed, surprised to see Kanon leaning over him, the morning light streaming into the room. He wondered if Kanon had left her own room while he had briefly drifted off, thinking about her sudden arrival. Kanon realized she had fallen asleep unexpectedly beside Lloyd, her face blushing as she tried to compose herself. Elsewhere, Lloyd kept to his morning routine, lifting a bucket at the well, focused and oblivious to Kanon's earlier actions. Lloyd pulled water from the well, unaware that 2 maids anxiously watched from nearby, trying not to stare. The maids quickly covered themselves using towels while Lloyd carried the bucket carefully. Focused on his job, Kanon approached, reminding Lloyd about washing with warm water to avoid catching a cold, gently scolding him. She handed him a towel, asking him to cover up, her face a mix of worry and tenderness. Lloyd and Kanon stood together as the maids looked on, flustered, noting how close the moment seemed between them. Lloyd and Kanon arrived at the school gates, observing the strict guards and sensing increased security. Kanon voiced concern over the heavy security, while Lloyd pondered the reason behind such alert measures. Inside, the massive hall displayed representatives from 6 realms, each princess standing gracefully, marking an important gathering. Lloyd noted the absence of the Oni realm princess, preparing to greet the attending royal princesses alongside Kanon. Instructors introduced themselves, Siba Mitsurugi overseeing spell combat and Letitia Primrose managing spell theory, marking the start of official lessons. Aurelius received orders from the headmaster, told to extend her arms as part of an official demonstration. She reminded everyone that this hall held representatives of every realm, stressing proper decorum and respect. Aurelius explained that building mutual respect among nations was the Pope's command, though it seemed pointless to some. She firmly declared that her kingdom's honor was supreme, refusing to join lessons unless that rule was respected. Ryunia Midgard, the Imperial Dragon Princess, quietly stated she had been resting, observing the tense exchanges around her calmly. Ryunia clarified she had been sleeping because the conversation involved topics she deemed trivial. Shocking others, she reminded the group that the magic ranking ought to be public,
pointing to a top-tier student. Human Imperial Princess, Susiri Hoshizuki, firmly objected, asserting that treating anyone like an object could not be pardoned. The spectators whispered as Ryunia and Susiri exchanged harsh words, each assessing the other's power and stature. Ryunia glared at provocations, indicating she would not reply to cheap taunts, keeping her imperial composure. Ryunia demanded answers from the instructors, urging them to explain why magic measurement data was kept secret. She spoke to the teachers with authority, determined to reveal the truth behind the scores. Kanan and Letitia questioned the secrecy, stating their disagreement with the idea that every person's rank should be equal. Ryunia pointed out Lloyd Fearless, the Sky Realm's Count family heir, asking for verification of his identity and achievements. Lloyd realized Aurelius had discovered he was the top-scoring student, his victory acknowledged amid sharp scrutiny from the crowd. Ryunia stated that Lloyd's entry to the basic department did not concern her, keeping focus on her imperial duties. She spoke to Elysiel, noting that their realms held different Sky Pact terms, pointing out historical differences. The Sky Pact was defined, a 1,000-year-old treaty maintaining peace, letting every nation maintain its core values. Ryunia highlighted the evil realm's value. Battle was allowed only if rooted in honor governing her nation's laws. She contrasted this with the Dragon Empire's Sky Pact, which banned fighting, explaining their nation evaluated strength without warfare. Lloyd stood with Kanan behind him, understanding the weight of the moment, getting ready for the imminent challenge. Ryunia declared that in this venue, Lloyd was the sole person capable of taking firm action. She raised her fan, signaling her power, stressing that this instant could trigger something momentous. Ryunia challenged Lloyd Fearless directly, announcing a match between them, making the crowd aware of the coming duel. Lloyd Fearless confronted the princess in the central hall. She stepped forward, challenging him to a duel. The princess inspected Lloyd's lineage, noticing he was not a blood relation, merely an escort, questioning his authority. She showed the master and servant ring, a mighty relic passed down inside her royal bloodline, declaring her goal. She intended to bind Lloyd as her thrall once she beat him, invoking the Sky Pact. Lloyd's status was now tied to her terms, trapping him in a risky magical treaty he could not turn down. The princess escorted Lloyd Fearless to the arena. Her expression stayed resolute, indicating the grave duel ahead. Lloyd readied himself, consenting to fight using only a blade. Concentrating on technique over magic, he stood tense, mindful of the burden of facing a royal princess before observers. A mentor warned him the stakes were high, losing would make him a thrall forever. Lloyd nodded. Resolute, he chose to fight using all his power, refusing any regrets during the fight. Lloyd Fearless prepared to channel his energy. The princess and another ally quietly cheered him. Watching with hope, he stepped inside the arena. The huge structure loomed over him, filled with shattered glass and echoes of past fights. Lloyd surveyed the area. The arena resembled a sight from his homeland, bringing back memories and tactical ideas. The princess reminded him that their fight remained invisible to outsiders, isolating the battle for safety. Before combat started, she permitted Lloyd to speak. He asked for clarity, preparing to move with speed and focus. The princess admitted she had acted hastily, showing a rare trace of modesty in her look. Lloyd observed her carefully, noticing slight shifts in posture that revealed deeper thought beneath her bold front. She thought back on expectations, acknowledging that Ryunia should be ranked highest, doubting the fairness of the result. Although the youngest, she wished Lloyd and others to respect her power and resolve as a princess. Lloyd evaluated the duel ahead. His most formidable potential rival was not from royal blood, but an escort of a count. The princess thought back on leaving the demon realm, admitting that Lloyd was the first to teach her about the wider world. She asked him to lead her forward, revealing a fresh world she had not yet explored. Lloyd entered the third illusion arena, preparing for another tricky match with intense focus. Onlookers noted Lloyd's immense skills, admitting that as teachers they could only watch his peerless skill. The princess and her allies resolved to observe closely, unable to step in. As the next stage of the duel unfolded, the match finally started as Lloyd entered the arena. Onlookers watched quietly while tension filled the air. The princess launched a quick strike, startling the watchers with its raw strength and speed. Lloyd faced the prison of time shrouded in crimson mist, ready to withstand the lethal crimson glare. The audience noted her plan to control Lloyd using her evil eye, aiming to make him her thrall. Aurelius released a massive spell, intending to settle the fight with one single decisive hit against Lloyd. The princess praised Lloyd Fearless, admiring his brave stance for not fleeing the duel, feeling hesitant to end it so quickly. She fired a mighty attack, but Lloyd leaped nimbly, avoiding the main impact of her strike. Spectators were stunned. Lloyd had dodged the evil eye without pulling his blade, claiming an advantageous spot. His response to the attack amazed watchers, including fellow students and teachers, who quietly praised his skill. The princess reflected inwardly. Though Aurelius was formidable, Lloyd's skills were far greater than she first assumed. The princess inquired how Lloyd endured the evil eye. He stood calmly, looking almost impossible to read. Lloyd explained that even indirect effects of the evil eye ought to impact a person, questioning her logic. He shared his secret, letting his body react automatically, bypassing the eye's influence completely. Lloyd's defensive style, mindless repetition, triggered. Even with his mind blank, his instinct governed his motions perfectly. The princess understood his plan. He avoided the evil eye entirely by setting magic commands to act without conscious thought. The princess wondered how Lloyd could predict her plan, shocked by his deep tactical insight. He reacted swiftly, dodging her evil eye and the raw power she aimed, displaying unbreakable accuracy. She realized that for a man like him, honor could still be kept even amid fierce combat. Lloyd remained composed, showing he could respect her stature while fully committed to the match. The princess accepted defeat, admitting she had already lost because he countered her evil eye smoothly. The princess stated that it made no difference as long as she was the last person standing. Facing Lloyd fearless, she remembered that he had unlocked the gate and entered her fort, offering her the chance to fight directly. Even the worst disasters brought little threat to him. She realized her own power alone might not suffice. With confidence, she openly voiced her desire for Lloyd, proving her intent to continue the match without doubt. Lloyd wielded his twin blades, generating a flurry of red petals. Magic swirled fiercely around him. Arsmeri appeared, urging Lloyd to draw his blade completely. Her face showed resolve and readiness. Lloyd analyzed the magic movement. Guardian-style tracks enabled him to trace every path accurately. He anticipated Arsmeria's strike from her right side, timing his actions to counter quickly. With a jump, Lloyd executed Mayfly, his guardian wings dissolving into the sky, avoiding danger cleanly. Lloyd leaped, intending to exploit Aurelius's magic drain. He calculated her attack from the left carefully. He formed a ring of protection, guarding himself as sharp magic fragments threatened to hit. Lloyd monitored Aurelius's method. Her mana formed glass-like patterns in midair, revealing her strategy. The magic failed to pierce his barrier. Lloyd's quick action negated her fang's deadly range completely. Aurelius's crystal flowers floated in midair, draining mana while her spell displayed sharp, lethal execution. A new watcher observed Lloyd closely. She noticed he had not raised a mana barrier yet. His spirit was intense. Lloyd hovered amid Aurelius's crystal flowers. He could feel the flow of mana where they bloomed. Aurelius charged forward, taking advantage of the split-second Lloyd created. He stayed ready, despite the sudden strike. Her fangs targeted him, but Lloyd's speed and defensive skills neutralized the danger immediately. Lloyd held Aurelius tightly, steadying her. Their eyes met as tension and unspoken trust passed between them. Lloyd carried Aurelius mid-air, drifting through the scattered crystal flowers quietly, both taking a breath. Aurelius looked at Lloyd with a mix of surprise and shyness. He silently acknowledged her presence politely. She questioned Lloyd, asking why he had not drawn his blade. Lloyd kept his quiet composure. Lloyd clarified that her look had seemed helpless, proving he grasped her feelings without words. Aurelius's face showed deep thought. Their tense fight softened, exposing vulnerability and trust between the two fighters. A mysterious princess stood before Lloyd. Her calm eyes challenged him, testing his power silently. She reflected on her own fear, realizing she must confront Lloyd and her past bravely. Aurelius wondered if she would feel terror if Lloyd drew his blade, testing her inner resolve. Lloyd observed her closely. Despite changes from old memories, Aurelius held his focus entirely. He met her gaze directly, determined to engage the girl before him fully, honoring both trust and tension. Aurelius admitted Lloyd's talent, surprised he exceeded her expectations despite the fierce fight. She saw him as the person offering her hope, inspiring her to keep going without quitting. Lloyd noticed the heavy mist wrapping around them, hiding Aurelius' motions but unable to block her presence. Aurelius declared herself the first princess of the Grand Shark line, standing firm at her own risk. Lloyd thought about her seriousness and devotion. Realizing Aurelius treated him like a true knight, honoring his role, Lloyd voiced his resolve for his honor. As a knight, he would answer Aurelius' challenge with full force. He swore on his blade to fight Aurelius using all his strength,
leaping toward her decisively. Aurelius heard her mother's solemn words, reminded that she carried the Grand Shark lineage's future on her shoulders. She answered with bright resolve, promising to honor her family's dignity and duties without doubt. Later, Aurelius paused before greeting Elysiel, feeling shy and guarded as she approached the quiet, distant girl. Memories of her own youth and curiosity pushed Aurelius forward, keen to reconnect and taste friendship once again. Her mother warned her sternly, emphasizing duty and the need to never yield to the holy princess, shaping Aurelius's resolve. Aurelius understood her life's focus, accepting the burden placed upon her back. She resolved to outshine everyone in talent, power, and knowledge, giving herself to constant growth. Determined, she admitted she must not lose and had to embody the ideal of the demon princess. Her ambition expanded further, declaring she must rule over everything and master her fate without compromise. Aurelius stepped forward firmly, leaving childhood behind, tossing aside leniency, and committing fully to her path as a dominant ruler. Aurelius looked back on her journey, realizing all her effort had finally brought her close to equality. Despite her tireless work, she noticed that both Elysiel and Ryunea failed to view her as a rival. She felt the sting of being ignored, yet her drive did not drop. Aurelius grasped that their only shared link was their title as princesses of their kingdoms. Above all of them stood the figure who ranked higher, guiding Aurelius toward fresh ambitions and tests. Aurelius learned that the escort she respected hailed from the Sky Realm, a noble line once vital to peace. She read about the ruler who built the Armistice Barrier, a leader removed from records yet heroic. Curiosity about the ruler and his deeds sparked Aurelius's wish to understand true strength and command. She squeezed her fist, determined that her power had to be proven in combat as a genuine agent of the Demon Empire. Aurelius swore that if she could defeat and earn respect from the strongest, she would secure her spot in history. Aurelius was shocked to discover the person who ranked above her came from the far Sky Empire, a simple escort by status. She pondered the history of the Sky Realm, a nation that halted every conflict, guided by a secretive ruler squeezing her fist. She resolved that power alone should dictate honor, and she would not back down. Aurelius promised to defeat and gain recognition from him, securing her status as a formidable leader. She unlocked an unusual magical gift, able to pull mana out of illusions, a power few could master. The Sky Empire Guard noticed Aurelius's illusions, a magic different from the commanding eyes he had fought before. He realized the illusions disoriented him, creating several clones of Aurelius, making it impossible to trace her location. Aurelius directed the illusions, ensuring that his blade could not strike her as she ruled the arena with accuracy. The warrior praised her talent, feeling thankful for the test that pushed him to adapt and grow. Aurelius smiled with confidence, knowing that every match made her stronger, enabling her to grow even tougher than before. The Sky Empire Guard realized Aurelius's illusions covered the arena, making it impossible to locate her real self. Aurelius taunted him closely, testing his senses and exploiting every gap in his focus. He performed a new skill, Void Breaker, aiming to pierce the void and hit her. Shattered glass revealed her position partially, and he began to decode her illusions and adapt. Aurelius grinned wildly, sure that every trial made her sharper, mastering both strategy and her magic skill. The Sky Empire Guard noted Aurelius had cast her second magic eye, boosting the strength of her illusions. She trapped him inside the Crimson Mist, forming a time-locked zone that rendered his previous tactics useless and forced him to adapt. Aurelius used her Crimson Glare, approaching with immense force, joining both her magic eyes to control the battlefield and prove her total control. Lloyd dropped through broken floors, surrounded by drifting glass as an unknown energy moved around him. Ars Miria materialized, fan in hand, waiting gracefully. Her gaze locked onto Lloyd, cutting through the mess. She seemed to challenge him, asking if he could survive such heavy pressure. Lloyd composed himself, remembering his promise. He knew he had to grow stronger than any caster from all 7 realms, preparing for the challenges ahead. Ars Miria urged Lloyd to accept his fate as the Sky Emperor's shield, promising he could constantly overcome. Side by side, they stood beneath an open sky, combining clear mana. Lloyd and Ars Miria prepared to transform the world, united in goal. Lloyd clenched his hand, recalling his oath to grow stronger than anyone, resolve burning deep inside him. He rushed forward without pause, refusing to let anyone block his route toward achieving his master's goal. The opponent prepared a spell, but Lloyd's presence mirrored their actions, forcing them to adjust quickly, caught off guard. Ars Miria spotted the copied moves, realizing Lloyd had duplicated her magic during combat, boosting his battle power quietly. Using the second Guardian style, Shadow Armor, Lloyd's strike bounced like a knight, shocking everyone and asserting control. Inside the Crimson Mist, Ars Meria navigated endless shadows, her actions swift as the dark shifted constantly around her. She released the Bloody Illusion, multiplying her image to confuse foes, every clone mirroring her hits and stance. Lloyd watched, amazed as Ars Meria's talent exceeded expectations, pushing him to try harder to match her power. Ars Meria's floating leaf skill glided smoothly through the battlefield, allowing accurate hits and easy movement around Lloyd's guards. Determined, she declared her presence loudly, showing herself fully as a fighter ready to match Lloyd's power. Ars Meria stood proud, declaring herself the Demon Princess, her aura radiating command and faith across the battlefield. Lloyd and his group watched from below, the weight of her magic casting a huge shadow over the area. Aurelis and the others realized her mana would soon drain, yet she kept control. Her power clear despite coming fatigue. Ars Meria's drive stayed whole, her fangs marking unbroken courage, promising to keep fighting until the match ended. Seeing her strength, the crowd recognized Lloyd's solid backing, feeling respect for his supportive role guiding Ars Meria's unstoppable rise. Lloyd and Ars Meria moved together smoothly, their fight flowing like a dance, fully in sync against all threats. Lloyd refused to give up, determined to keep speed, even while Ars Meria spent vast amounts of mana for her strikes. Ars Meria's power kept growing through the battle, her skills turning more deadly and precise with every move. She tested Lloyd's guard, challenging him while trying to drain his focus, pushing both to their bounds in combat. Lloyd's resolve stayed solid, countering her every strike, proving that her efforts alone could not beat his determination. Ars Meria balanced on top of Lloyd, stating she could dance longer, her speed and power unmatched. Driving the duel forward, she summoned the Blood Prison, locking Lloyd inside an illusionary room, restricting his steps while testing his grit. Ars Meria claimed rule over the area, reminding Lloyd that inside her field, escape was impossible, forcing him to face her strength. She challenged Lloyd directly, explaining that to bind her motion, he had to fight without fear, showing his strength without bounds. Her tactic aimed to drain Lloyd's mana, proving her skill and command while forcing him to adjust under pressure. Ars Meria used her fan move, Bind Him, catching Lloyd with tightening energy that restricted his steps right away. Lloyd felt the bonds tighten, fighting to break the squeeze, testing both his speed and his focus under pressure. Ars Meria revealed her Fang, a brutal move, striking Lloyd boldly as she unleashed a focused burst of magic power. Lloyd stood firm, casting his powerful magic, Fang hitting the arena with brave accuracy. Flames burst around him, forming a fiery shield against the opponent's strike. Princess Ars Meria watched with awe as Lloyd moved easily, drawing a complex spell array while dodging constant strikes, displaying mastery beyond belief. Lloyd shared the secret: the spell was an advanced barrier art. Even his opponents saw the incredible control he held, leaving them briefly stunned. Ars Meria thought about her dreams. She hoped to see a world free of war, where her magic served as a shield rather than a weapon. Through practice and study, Lloyd mastered the spell flawlessly, knowing how to apply it wisely, and imagining a future where strength and peace met. Lloyd and Ars Meria sat side by side, wrapped in silence, thinking over past mistakes and missed chances. Lloyd clenched his fist, remembering thousands of years of training, determined to master the spell that once left him helpless. He released the fourth technique, Colorless, a brilliant ray that reached endlessly into the heavens, a proof of control and skill refined over time. Ars Meria watched, amazed as the rare barrier art formed perfectly, a secret magic known only to imperial bloodlines. Lloyd stood ready, finally able to protect and reunite with Ars Meria. Bridging past regrets with newfound power, Lloyd confronted his firm rival, her look fierce, respecting his power while refusing to hold back. He explained that every hit and spell was measured, aimed to test her, needing his complete talent to weigh her power. The duel grew intense, petals and dust spreading, every move exact and planned, showing their fierce rivalry and mutual respect. She charged forward with fresh resolve, ready to fight to the very end, her drive shining through every strike. At last they met eyes and hugged briefly, a silent nod to their strength, trust, and the connection built through battle. The duel finished, and Lloyd's rival accepted his win, petals floating around them as they hugged. She smiled with relief as battle tension gave way to mutual respect and clarity. Lloyd felt the transport spell trigger, bringing the exact feelings as the first time he used it, anticipation and focus merging. Arsmeria sensed their shared fate, knowing that their paths were tied, destiny leading them to this key moment. Lloyd reached the spell circle, met by his sister and allies, his path and skill with mighty spells ending in a happy reunion. Lloyd noticed a familiar voice from earlier, catching him off guard among his friends and Arsmeria. Aurelis appeared, smiling softly, reflecting on how their duel had built a sudden bond. Despite the intensity, Lloyd realized that the voice from earlier belonged to Aurelis herself, proving his thoughts and deepening his view of her. Aurelis asked him to reply, doubting if someone like her deserved attention, seeking approval from Lloyd. She reminded him of the illusion match rules. The winner may ask one wish from the loser, giving her authority and impact. Aurelis bowed low, acknowledging her loss, yielding herself to Lloyd following the illusion match rules. She requested to study in the exact same class as him, hoping to learn and improve beside Lloyd down the line. She voiced her hope to build peaceful bonds with others, refining their magic skills together and building strong teamwork. Lloyd smiled warmly, clarifying that if given her wish, he wanted her to view him as an equal and classmate. Though she paused at first, Aurelis agreed, realizing this was her true wish and a chance to start fresh with Lloyd. Aurelis spoke to Lloyd with deep respect, addressing him as Imperial Demon Princess Lloyd Fearless, honoring his skill and dignity. She paused, asking him to let her keep using formal terms, keeping the formality until the day she could beat him. Lloyd smiled, understanding her wish, knowing it represented her pride, drive, and the friendly rivalry between them. Their peers responded with laughter, teasing Aurelis while enjoying the light dynamic between her and Lloyd. Aurelis argued against the teasing, but her face relaxed, knowing this bond and contact were part of her growth and team spirit with Lloyd from above. An onlooker watched Lloyd and his peers, assessing their steps with a sharp, stern eye. The watcher praised Lloyd's effort, noting his steady focus and drive through the events that happened below. With a gentle smile, she addressed him directly as Lloyd-chan, praising his growing talent, strength, and the respect he had gained from those nearby. At the Magic World Academy, Lloyd Fearless watched a practice fight from the viewing tower. Shards of glass and sparks flew as pupils trained, but his eyes stayed sharp and calculated. Lloyd's amazing talents were proven. He earned an FA in the mana evaluation, praised for his rare skill and top potential. His fame started to grow among peers. He showed the barrier art, a skill of massive strength that passed common magic shields, leaving all in awe. The barrier art was special, beyond compare even to old forms built 1,000 years ago, available only to real mages. Even with this massive power, Lloyd kept his cool, evaluating every setup while getting ready for the tests ahead. Lloyd's modesty impressed watchers. He treated everyone fairly, even while showing amazing magic skills during academy practice sessions. The researcher analyzed the complex grid of links, tracing events and noting trends tied to the Silver Guard Knight. Vance was known as the strongest shield knight, guarding the Empress from countless dangers with great skill and courage. Despite his achievements, no official records existed, as Vance purposefully avoided taking credit for brave acts or fame. Inspired by Vance's history, the Watcher wished to meet someone able to shift the world with strength and sense. The Watcher kept studying Vance and the barrier art, eager to grasp the full range of his strength. Lloyd's power became clear. He held the skills she sought, able to shift outcomes with force and accuracy. Suddenly, Lloyd appeared before her, showing up with quiet authority, proving he had answered her call. She stepped close to him, expressing drive to keep him from turning into a simple pawn for any royal princess. A dark, heavier aura appeared, testing Lloyd's force and driving him to face a wish he had not met. The heavy aura of the unknown figure pressed against Lloyd, hitting him with mixed feelings and testing his focus. Outside, the magic school seemed calm, contrasting with the conflict inside, where hidden wishes and plans quietly grew. Lloyd paused, unsure of the path ahead, while thinking over the incredible powers he might gain if he won. Despite tired muscles from old fights, Lloyd pushed to keep going, showing grit and solid devotion to his team and goals. His growing fame pulled interest, and peers respected him both for his power and his skill to inspire others. Though alone, the person showed annoyance, fighting to handle feelings while Lloyd stayed quiet and watchful nearby. Lloyd's leadership traits were clear, peers respected him, believing he was ideal for guiding the school with trust and fairness. He accepted praise from peers modestly, feeling proud to be respected after showing skill and force in duels. A close partner asked him not to forget her, showing faith and a tight emotional link forming between them. Suddenly, Lloyd resisted outside pressure, claiming freedom while others watched, proving that he would not be swayed easily. Lloyd was surprised as Suri Denka appeared, noticing them standing in the corridor after their recent tasks at the school. Kanon shared she had made a snack, wanting to eat before leaving, showing care and kindness. Susiri watched the cooking, curious about the treats Kanon made, impressed by her talent and personal skills. The group praised Kanon for both her mind and hard work, noting her talents while she humbly brushed off praise. Kanon happily asked Lloyd for help with lessons and spells, showing sibling trust and shared support. Susiri Denka noticed Kanon's pride in her brother, smiling warmly and praising the link between siblings. Susiri Denka praised Lloyd for his fight skills, respecting his power and talent, earning respect and praise from the group. Lloyd felt happiness valuing the shared workspace and team spirit with peers, building trust and comfort. Susiri shared her doubts about matching goals, showing modesty while Lloyd reassured her of her talent and hard work. Susiri approached Lloyd with a task, giving him a duty as leader, highlighting their shared respect and teamwork. The guards outside waited patiently as the group prepared to leave, marking the start of a key trip. Susiri Denka ordered Lloyd and Kanon to come with her, representing the princesses, highlighting duty and trust in their lead. She planned to visit the Imperial Oni Princess Hiyori, focusing on talks and strategic contact with other royals. Lloyd, Uraha, and Ryan stepped into the grand dorms of the Oni Empire, getting ready to check the magic place. They were officially welcomed as reps, with Susiri Denka asking a meeting with Oni Princess Hiyori. The guards shoved open the massive doors, showing the complex halls inside, and the team walked warily into the unknown. As Lloyd walked forward, he felt a light chill, sensing the presence of another's mana nearby. Outside, a shaking princess sneezed from the cold, making Lloyd and his peers offer soft worry and direction. Susiri Denka walked ahead with Lloyd and the rest, thinking on her old tie with Oni Princess Hiyori. She recalled how she and Hiyori turned friends through early state meetings, finding bond in one another despite strict adult care. Uraha detailed how Hiyori, once a wild girl, had her mood lifted when she joined school, aided by Susiri Denka's steering. Lloyd agreed, silently worried for Hiyori's health, aware that her feeling of trap weighed heavily on her. Hiyori remembered being a lonely soul, and the news that someone remembered and cared for her felt almost magical. Lloyd observed Hiyori from a distance, weighing her possible thoughts of solitude and the mental weight she carried. Hiyori expressed thanks to Lloyd and Susiri Denka, valuing their work to call on her despite the tests. The team walked warily across the forest, talking about Hiyori's health and how a talk might be good for her. Guards claimed that entry was blocked, but Lloyd and the peers carried on. Aware of Hiyori Denka's consent of Suri Denka's call, abruptly, a guard stopped the route, claiming firmly that Hiyori-sama couldn't meet anyone, forcing the team to re-evaluate their way. Rakusha stood steady, glowing heavy anger, while the guards watched the team walking toward Hiyori-sama. A figure prompted Rakusha that Hiyori-sama had welcomed the guests, challenging his choice to block the door. Susiri Denka and the peers paused politely, waiting for consent to move, while keeping proper manners. Rakusha's temper flared, but Hiyori-sama quietly stepped in, ordering him to hear prior to opening the door. Uraha stepped forward to shield Susiri Denka, making sure Lloyd and the team could safely carry on without raising Rakusha's anger. Uraha accepted the Oni Empire's rules, declaring they wouldn't step in unless needed. Rakusha stood before the door set to move, while observers chose to watch the state unfold. Hiyori-sama realized the fight couldn't longer be ignored and chose to step in directly. Rakusha and Hiyori-sama joined in a serious clash, their powers hitting hard. As Lloyd watched closely, Lloyd saw the weight of the clash, set to shield Suri Denka's careful plans and make sure no injury came to anyone. Hiyori-sama and Rakusha released strong attacks, joining moves like Oni Shadow Art, Thunder, and Helix Wheel. The Lost Traveler watched silently from above, applying the Second Guardian style, judging the fight warily. Lloyd saw a short chance trying to slide himself between the fighters to stop heavy injury. Using the first Guardian move, Lloyd moved smoothly, floating and dodging as Hiyori-sama and Rakusha kept up their clash. Lloyd focused on copying their mana to clear their moves, set to clear their powers and close the fight safely. Lloyd faced the active clash, asking how Rakusha managed to show up and halt their joint moves. Rakusha was shocked by Lloyd's block and demanded to learn why he came in the route. Lloyd realized Rakusha found it odd that a Sky Empire guard had shown up suddenly, doubting his presence. Uraha cleared Lloyd's power, detailing that he was the leader and had viewed key points others had missed. Rakusha accepted Lloyd's strength, seeing that the princesses knew and honored his skill, grasping the weight of his presence. Rakusha realized Hiyori-sama failed to accept Lloyd, which shifted his view on the state. Lloyd and Uraha quietly watched, grasping the meanings of Rakusha's thought. Rakusha named Lloyd as someone like a figure he had known. Linking the thoughts, Lloyd's presence was accepted as strong, standing firm despite his private thoughts or the stress around him. Rakusha chose he must step in to stop Suseri Denka from seeing the Oni princess without fight. The two guards met each other, both guarding their task while readying for a possible clash over Hiyori-sama. Lloyd sprinted fast, facing a foe that threatened the safety of Hiyori-sama. His hits were exact, showing the strength he had built as a wall knight. The leader weighed Hiyori-sama's joy, hoping she could have school life without needless risk. He aimed to ask her wishes directly to make sure of her freedom. Lloyd dared the rival team, asking whether Hiyori-sama ought to suffer war when her time at school could be quiet and shared with others. The foe claimed that the princess's fights were useless. Lloyd watched mindfully, seeing that Hiyori-sama's presence was the single constant needed. Using a sudden rush of pace and magic, Lloyd blocked the attackers. He made sure Hiyori-sama could keep her school time safely, clean of needless fights. Lloyd walked to the field warily. He felt that the foe grasped the impact of his blade, not merely his power. Hiyori-sama saw the growing field filled with Lloyd's cuts. She realized the fight's time was growing with every hit he made. The leader struggled to hold his feet, aware that unless he moved, Lloyd's hard hit would crush the area. Lloyd executed a firm step, claiming that Hiyori-sama could take her lessons safely without getting tied in the fights around her. He released his core move, 7 Arc, hitting with light speed and accuracy to guarantee Hiyori-sama's safety. Lloyd ready to face Lloyd's opponent head-on, he grasped that the first hit of 7 Arc was the most powerful. He lifted a safe wall, the ring of protection, setting to halt the coming hits prior to them crushing him. Struggling, he realized he couldn't keep blocking such heavy strikes endlessly. He needed a plan to end the clash neatly. Lloyd struck back with exact steps, tuning attack and defense, aware that the class topic couldn't be fixed by simple power. He thought that even past 1,000 years, the land's wars would close merely if people truly wished for peace. Lloyd moved ahead, set that the world could shift if people trusted in it. He set on guarding Hiyori-sama's school life. He blocked a coming hit with all his force, giving to closing the clash before the foe finished his 6 hits. The leader accepted the shared thoughts of Hiyori-sama and the princesses, grasping their value in fixing the war. Lloyd closed the space, readying to face his rival directly and deliver a firm hit. The foe's last cut hit him, but Lloyd held steady, proving his heart to guard both the school and everyone's thoughts. Lloyd applied his second Guardian-style shadow armor, forming a trick to mirror his steps. He and the foe accepted their shared job as guards. He grasped that guarding didn't mean trap. Their task was to shield Hiyori-sama's life without bounding her freedom. Lloyd set to shield the princesses in the world they wished to view. Honoring their wishes and picks, he asked the foe about the world Hiyori-sama truly wanted, setting on her view past all else. Hiyori-sama voiced her wish to meet everyone and know life freely, showing why Lloyd's care was needed for her joy. The foe thought on his axe, realizing he had started to move like the rest he judged, asking himself. Lloyd gave to making the class a safe spot, leaning on Suseri Denka and the other peers to back him. He gave an offer of joint work to the foe, stressing that they could all help with Hiyori-sama's care. Suseri Denka begged for the foe to take it, pleading to his role as Hiyori-sama's peer. The foe showed his real goal to let Suseri Denka and Hiyori-sama meet freely, accepting old pain but putting their safety top. The foe bowed, asking grace for his crude behavior toward one of Hiyori-sama's peers, accepting his errors. He admitted that duties rested on Nio, displaying honor for her part in guarding Hiyori-sama. Lloyd felt relieved as Hiyori-sama's orders guaranteed that guests would be let in without fight. He thanked Niu Sono for following the orders despite her own fears, valuing her loyalty. The foe also asked grace for hitting Lloyd, and Lloyd comforted him, understanding the risk he felt for the princess's weak health. The team waited calmly for Hiyori-sama to wake, displaying knowledge and honor for her break. Niu and the rest ready to steer the guests, marking their readiness to take steps. The team officially started guarding the guests, making sure of a smooth and polite entry toward Hiyori-sama. They arrived at Hiyori-sama's room, facing the princess quietly resting, marking the end of the fight and the safe meeting with her. Lloyd and the team walked down the cold hallway, sensing the growing impact of Hiyori Denka's mana. They made it to the door of a quiet room, the airtight as Suseri stepped forward, waving them inside. Hiyori woke from her sleep, rubbing her eyes, slowly spotting Suseri and the known team before her. The girls traded wary smiles, seeing each other's shift since their last meeting. Hearts silently joining again. Lloyd watched silently, realizing their meeting marked the start of a fresh trip with peers and classmates. Hiyori greeted Lloyd and the team, seeing the clear path of his uncolored mana. Lloyd knelt, presenting himself as the leader, shocked that Hiyori could feel uncolored mana. Suseri agreed to a private talk with Lloyd, stepping aside to let the two speak. Kanan and the rest left the room, offering Lloyd and Suseri a quiet place for talk. Suseri leaned near to Lloyd, teasing him that even alone, he could do anything odd. Lloyd saw Hiyori coughing lightly. She comforted him, masking her state while keeping quiet composure calmly. Hiyori feared her state might worry Suseri, asking Lloyd to keep her signs hidden from others nearby. Lloyd realized Hiyori's cough wasn't sickness-tied, grasping her quiet alert and the value of managing her mana spill. Hiyori recalled Arsmeria's like old pain, mana spills raised by the cold, and Lloyd watched the dark power path. Lloyd detailed Hiyori's mana spill, accepting her giant power while she silently saw the risky power inside herself. Hiyori managed her extra mana, realizing taking school could disturb others. Despite her drive to enter classes, Lloyd accepted her wish, pushing Hiyori Denka to take her heart while weighing safe paths for entry. Hiyori thought on her trap, feeling Lloyd grasped her state better than anyone else there at that time. Lloyd asked Hiyori to reach her hand past the eye cover, offering aid while honoring her careful bounds. Hiyori promised him, displaying readiness and thanks for Lloyd's aid, while keeping worry for possible trouble. Hiyori silently reached her hand, displaying faith while expressing worry, softly asking Lloyd not to push himself. Hiyori begged with Lloyd, stressing her state and quietly alerting him regarding the ends of forcing himself. Lloyd thought on their first meeting, realizing Hiyori's hope rested on his success and careful direction. Lloyd set to spark Hiyori's mana, stopping dangerous leaks while tuning the path for her safety. The two joined hands, power flowing as Lloyd felt the heavy mana rush, readying to calm her power. Lloyd struggled against Hiyori's intense cold mana, amazed at the scale of power she bore silently. Hiyori set her mind, pushing Lloyd to keep focus and the mana path, making sure the fine balance wasn't lost. Kanan, Suri, and the rest felt Hiyori's shifted mana, seeing the warmth and peace coming from her. Lloyd joined with Hiyori, making a steady tie that let her mana travel safely. Fixing balance, Hiyori's mana calmed, traveling smoothly. Lloyd detailed he took extra mana, ready to aid if imbalance returned. Hiyori felt comforted seeing she could go out safely. Lloyd led her with trust and care throughout. Hiyori beamed warmly, thanking Lloyd for his backing, expressing thanks for his careful direction and safe presence. Lloyd walked across the packed academy hall, keeping close to Kanan. Despite the smaller group than during the tests, he stayed alert. Kanan held tightly to Lloyd's arm, worried about getting split. She leaned on him to steer her safely through the crowd. Aurelis showed up before them, clad neatly. Lloyd and Kanan were amazed by her shift, and Aurelis smiled, displaying trust in her new look. Alicia watched Aurelis's thrill with slight blush. She prompted her friend that adults ought to stay quiet, yet Aurelis stayed bright. Aurelis slowly accepted her tasks. Elysiel pushed her to sleep for the royal rep speech, stressing that staying up late wouldn't help her growth. Elysiel looked deep in thought, holding a finger to her lips, mindfully weighing the coming events and her right tasks at the school. Aurelis, easy yet neat, cheered Rionea on her late clash win, displaying age while keeping poise before others. Lloyd and Kanan arrived, alert and wary, ready to hear key news regarding late fights perhaps bad to their peers. Hiyori and Suseri entered the team, standing proudly, their presence marking the weight and value of the royal school meeting. Lloyd's call had boosted Hiyori's work, showing that his direction helpfully touched the princesses, lifting their trust and strategic skills overall. Hiyori walked to Lloyd and Kanan excitedly, amazed by their attendance. Aurelis blushed shyly, acting to the sudden meeting with interest. Lloyd pushed everyone to enjoy the food. Aurelis and Reinea eagerly tried dishes from the Beast Empire's rich picks. Suseri asked politely to check the spot alone, beaming softly, marking her freedom while staying aware of her area. Hiyori offered to walk with Suseri despite the noise. Suseri claimed Raksha was watching, promising her safety while staying alone briefly. Suseri asked pardon for causing worry. Hiyori comforted her, displaying shared care and backing between the princesses at the meeting. Lloyd met Lord Nayu, who asked easy speech between them. Both worked as guards, seeking direct talk without needless formal terms. Nayu wished to speak regarding Hiyori, asking Lloyd if a private talk could happen away from the crowd. Kanan watched, worried but understanding, while Lloyd agreed to step aside. The noise made open talk hard, needing quiet. Nayu expressed thanks, detailing Hiyori's magic skills had heavily steadied thanks to Lloyd's step through past events. Lloyd modestly accepted the growth, asking whether the shift was purely Hiyori's magic force or touched by different things. Lloyd thought on moving Hiyori's magic, sensing her natural heart crushed under heavy cold force from outside roots. He met Nayu, seeking knowledge, hoping the skilled guard could detail the odd impacts on Hiyori's magic talents. Nayu detailed bounds, showing secret facts regarding the Oni Empire's plans, stressing some fights couldn't be openly discussed. Suseri saw Hiyori's cautious nature, seeing her habit to build walls while still wishing for personal times and key bonds. Nayu regretted not sending Lloyd away sooner, thinking on past picks while weighing the finest route to shield. Hiyori, Nayu expressed doubt, struggling with his part and picks. He felt helpless, unsure how to move helpfully going forward. Suseri stood quietly, her face deep, set to keep poise and carry on smiling, despite the weights resting on her. She asked pardon to Suseri for stepping away again, knowing the mental gap made by her own care and tasks. Lloyd and the other princesses carried on talking brightly. Despite lively spaces, Suseri felt split. Watching from a quiet distance, Suseri realized that even stepping outside or joining wouldn't shift her state. She closed her hands, taking truth silently. Suseri admitted partial command over her powers but stayed wary. Hiyori showed up beside her, asking softly if she was fine. Suseri, startled, accepted Hiyori's presence. Hiyori saw her nervous act, asking whether the crowd had crushed her suddenly through the event. Another person walked up, daring their names. Suru and Hiyori traded looks, unsure as the new person demanded to learn who they were. Suseri thought on wanting peace, yet Hiyori claimed a knight would always shield her. Lloyd's presence was implied safety. Lloyd felt a sudden rush of strong magic. Both saw its short surge then drop, marking a strong unknown power nearby. Hiyori went missing, making fear. Lloyd and Nayu, sensing need, readied to search fast, traveling through the packed school. Hiyori's loss caused fear among the team. Princesses and knights joined together, fearing for her safety, demanding direct action. Lloyd and his peers met on the school grounds. Raksha expressed fear after losing track of Princess Hiyori. Lloyd checked Princess Hiyori's mana, judging he could follow the leftover power she left behind. He set to tell Kanan once he found her. He sprinted ahead fast. Raksha asked for safety of her little sister until Lloyd came back, stressing the value of the task. The team arrived at the empty old study lab. Lloyd saw the warp points had shifted earlier. Lloyd felt Hiyori's mana. Now joined with another stronger presence, he readied himself for the unknown force ahead. Lloyd and Kanan found Princess Hiyori, her frame bound by sharp, icy spikes. They were amazed by her look. Lloyd named the root of her pain as the ogre god Isesno Yaksha, whose power radiated dangerously. Nayu identified the ogre god right away, recalling meetings from the past. The air around them shook with stress. Nio launched a strike toward the ogre god. Lloyd tried to step in while memories came back, showing old fights. Princess Hiyori's face shifted as her held thoughts came up. She confessed that first she hated the person now shielding her. Princess Hiyori thought on her past, remembering how she had been loved by many and offered anything she wished. She realized the truth of her trap. Despite looks, she was not allowed to walk outside. Hiyori understood that she was truly alone, lacking real freedom or items, hidden from the world. This view sparked her wish to offer something key to another, sharing what she could. Lloyd observed her deep face, knowing her intent. Feeling torn yet touched by her drive to move, Lloyd found that the ogre god lived inside Princess Hiyori. Her life was the key to sealing the disaster threatening the state. He thought on Hiyori's picks, understanding why she dodged bond and items, guarding herself from coming pain. Despite this, Lloyd stayed by her side, learning to grasp her picks and valuing their shared time together. He realized the most painful side for Hiyori was losing command of her power and accidentally hurting others. Kanan observed Hiyori growing now, able to command her powers and make real ties, even speaking herself more freely. Lloyd thought on his knowledge of the state, realizing he grasped everything but struggled to act in time. He remembered his oath to shield Princess Hiyori, feeling the weight of his drop as her life hung in danger. Tears ran down Lloyd's face as he begged others to save Hiyori, frantic to stop the disaster. Kanan ready to step in, asking Lloyd to care for Nio while she walked to Hiyori directly. Kanan charged at the ogre god's icy form, calling for Hiyori to answer and trying to break through the deadly threat. Kanan called out to Hiyori, pushing her to answer if she could hear her voice trying to touch her heart. Kanan met Hiyori, realizing the ogre god's hold and sensing the real identity behind the human empire's princess. The ogre god mocked the team, pointing out that their work failed to show Hiyori's real thoughts, judging their route. Princess Suseri hit the ogre god, leaping hard to strike and try to shield Hiyori from injury. Lloyd thought sadly on his inability to be Hiyori's peer prior, regretting that someone like him failed to reach her. Lloyd tried simple first aid magic on the hurt, but the ogre god's icy hold made it almost useless. He realized the real threat came from the yaksha resting in the heart, piercing past physical bodies. The ogre god's power grew, freezing both minds and frames, pushing the team to their bounds as it moved. Lloyd weighed the force of bonds around him, Hiyori's heart, Nio's thoughts, and Suseri's drive in the clash. He set to halt the ogre god, declining to let any be hurt while charging to meet the threat. The ogre god formed a round wall, warning that guarding too much would drain the team's power to hit back. The team struggled against the icy bone power as it threatened to crush them, its strikes hard. Lloyd released his magic, making Fregis to hit the ogre god, applying his power strategically against the deadly foe. He asked the steps of his friend, seeing behavior that looked odd, trying to grasp their plans. Anna, their peer, answering firmly, walked forward with resolve, set to face the foe while Lloyd readied for joined steps. Lloyd saw noise at the academy and took Sir Gild through the grand hall. The view shocked him. Sir Gild declared he wouldn't let anyone freeze, readying his strong fire to fight the threat. The foe showed itself as an ogre god from the Demon Empire. Sir Gild called upon its power. Sir Gild ordered Lloyd to burn the monster to ashes, leaving zero room for pause or delay. Lloyd realized the ogre princess was inside the monster, needing exact hits to shield her life. Sir Gild called the ogre god, readying to face the massive foe with full resolve. He ordered chains to show up, binding the monster tightly and limiting its risky steps. Lloyd saw the chance as Sir Gild sealed the monster's step, readying the next phase. He copied Sir Gild's magic, tuning their powers to hit together and raise their strike. The ogre god's head was broken, leaving the foe cleared, and Lloyd and Sir Gild winning in the fight. Sir Gild's chains failed to hold the ogre god, which fought wildly against its ties. Lloyd realized the monster's power rested on Princess Hiyori's mind, making physical strikes useless. The two grasped that crushing the monster alone was meaningless. Its spirit stayed clear. Lloyd and Sir Gild chose they had to wake Hiyori, the single one able to command the ogre god. Lloyd met Ars Maria, asking the point of magic, understanding that true power rested on waking those able to steer it. Lloyd struggled with his magic, feeling it failed to shield Ars Maria despite his firm heart. Tears dropped as he confessed his drop to aid her, wishing for the power to guard her. Ars Maria comforted him that the load was not his alone to carry, steering his mind. Lloyd realized that his focus on shielding her had blocked him from fully finishing his own realm styles. Ars Maria's drive had finished the impossible. Her work shielded everyone, displaying that true power came from her resolve. Ars Maria cast the anti-war realm, a guardian spell that shielded everything round her. The ogre god dared Lloyd, claiming that too much to shield would drain his fighting skill. Lloyd realized that shielding Hiyori strengthened his magic, showing the real heart of his realm styles. The endless heat of his guardian styles shocked the ogre god, breaking its power and focus. The ogre god started to melt and drop, its mana dropping as Lloyd and Ars Maria's joined shield took impact. The ogre god broke wildly, its heart dropping under the joined magic of Lloyd and Ars Maria. Lloyd moved through the noise, setting on reaching Hiyori despite the breaking field round him. He sent mana flow across his frame, reaching his hand toward Hiyori bound inside the icy box. Lloyd plunged into the deeps of Hiyori's frozen heart, set to reach her and wake her mind. Hiyori floated set inside glass, open yet shielded, as Lloyd's magic came to at last join and save her. Hiyori took her food made carefully by her staff. She smiled, excited to show everyone her work. The staff detailed the plans for her resting rooms. Hiyori sat quietly, feeling both hope and fear. Hiyori saw the ice she made started melting unexpectedly. She asked who was watching her act silently. A dark voice showed itself, claiming to be the power inside Hiyori. Memories of hearing it from childhood came back. The voice grew power daily beside her mana. Hiyori yelled in anger, blaming it for her pain and unwanted power. Hiyori paused, hearing the voice warning her that using her power would burn her single point. The voice detailed her father, the king, set to use her to seal a coming disaster. Hiyori realized her life was a box to hold the ice power, key only through loss. She thought on the life she believed she could hold, and her ties with others fading. Hiyori grasped eventually she would have to throw away everything she held dear to fill her task. Hiyori thought on throwing everything away. Despite giving up, she still felt heart she couldn't clear. Floating in dark, Hiyori asked why the leftover thoughts stayed, despite her try to leave personal ties. Hiyori remembered reading books daily. Every plot was about love, holding her focus and sparking heart inside her. She realized giving up on love for herself, she still enjoyed watching and feeling others' romantic times. Hiyori grasped she must have loved those plots, particularly tales of kings coming to rescue, giving quiet dream. A young man showed up, calling out to Hiyori, knowing her as the trapped princess needing help and care. Hiyori thought on her fears, realizing she ignored others' words from the start, feeling afraid and alone. Facing another Yasha of ice and snow, Hiyori saw someone sharing the same load of huge bound power. The rival Yasha shouted that Hiyori held no future, declaring her existence was merely as a box. Despite doubt regarding the future, Hiyori hugged the other, holding on, showing drive to face what comes. Hiyori chose to live in the now, taking the point and letting go of past fears and regrets. She set to leave the box that had bound her life, breaking clean from her internal bounds. Lloyd jumped ahead, taking Hiyori as she fell, making sure of her safety and showing firm backing and care. Hiyori leaned near to Lloyd, accepting that she heard his voice and felt comforted by his presence. With tears and thanks, Hiyori thanked Lloyd, expressing value for reaching out and aiding her regain hope. Hiyori took the ogre god inside her, setting she would no longer fear its power or sway. A young peer called out her name, reaching Hiyori, marking hope and knowledge amid the lingering noise. Hiyori asked pardon for making others suffer, expressing thanks to those who shared in her pain and fights. Suru walked to Hiyori, knowing the tie and shared times, showing care and mutual knowledge between peers. Hiyori confessed her thoughts, detailing why she held back, and realized she ought to have leaned on Suru. Hiyori asked pardon for failing to grasp Suru's real thoughts, and asked if she deserved to be with her. Hiyori reached her hand, voicing a wish for shared knowledge, wanting to learn more regarding Hiyori's times. Hiyori, sad and tearful, promised to talk more with Susiri, accepting that they were now in the same class. They hugged, finding comfort and peace in one another, fixing a bond built through shared fights and faith. Hiyori took clothes from another peer, feeling thanks while tuning to regular school life outside the past loads. Hiyori asked pardon for making noise during the entry party. Lloyd comforted her that thankfully no one was hurt.
Lloyd thought on Harry holding the ogre god, even without knowing, stopping damage while shielding everyone round her. He softly asked if Harry remembered her hit person, knowing the trauma and pain of recalling the bad events. Harry voiced worry, feeling as if her mind had been shifted, though she thanked Lloyd for understanding. She admitted doubt regarding why the state happened, but saw the clarity it brought about, fixing bonds. Lloyd concluded that someone in the academy held clear bad plans, and their care would be needed moving ahead. Lloyd and Canon came to the Magic Academy early. The courtyard was empty, echoing quiet steps as they walked. Lloyd remembered the past day when a sudden threat showed up, testing his heart and showing hidden risks round the school. Inside the school, Lloyd turned a spot and was suddenly met by a secret figure. Shocked, he recognized a known presence. The figure hugged Lloyd, voicing comfort and thanks for his care. Feelings ran high as safety returned briefly. The lady prompted Lloyd of his bounds, pushing him to rest. Lloyd accepted her words, understanding strength needs care. Lloyd thought on late events, feeling responsible for worrying Canon. He silently asked pardon to himself. Canon walked to him, addressing his fears. Lloyd validated he needed to check a hard topic. He remembered that the attacker held fine knowledge of the Ogre Empire. Lloyd feared different princesses might also be targeted. Canon heard as Lloyd detailed, offering to aid him handle school-tied issues. They readied for careful steps. Canon comforted Lloyd, stressing that adults would shield him. Lloyd took her guidance, setting to rest and trust them. Lloyd smiled, promising Canon he was fine. He prompted himself to stay composed despite leftover tire. He worried regarding Princess Hiyari past yesterday's bad event. Memories of past fights weighed heavily on him. Hiyori ran eagerly across the school halls, celebrating her thrill. Other pupils took after, caught up in her excitement. Lloyd was shocked by Hiyori's force. Her bright drive contrasted with the late risky events. Hiyori greeted Lloyd fondly, flustered but happy. He saw her real joy, feeling relieved as the day started quietly. Hiyori detailed her morning practice plans. Lloyd heard, giving comfort and backing for her work. Hiyori held Lloyd's hand, prompting him he had promised to help her with any tests that showed up. She admitted she was new to the job. Lloyd felt duty, set to steer her through the path. Lloyd agreed, slightly nervous but set to help. Canon watched, amazed at the deep trade. Canon offered her help with healing magic, joining Lloyd and Hiyori. The team readied for joint work and cooperation. Hiyori excitedly shared her dream of talking about love. Lloyd and Canon heard, shocked by her thrill. The team saw a newcomer walking into the school hall. Lloyd watched warily, judging the state. The newcomer presented herself as Erisiel, Princess of the Holy Empire. Hiyori accepted her, shy yet polite. Erisiel noted the team left early the past day. Lloyd and Hiyori stayed wary, unsure of her aims. Lloyd asked if Erisiel guessed something had happened. He stayed alert, readying to manage any sudden events. Erisiel told Lloyd and Hiyori to avoid speaking of past events. Lloyd understood and stayed wary. Erisiel detailed that from now on, they would be classmates, setting to bring out each other's powers. Hiyori thanked Erisiel, voicing her thrill at the chance to work together. Erisiel accepted her politely. Hiyori admitted she had been shy regarding getting along with other princesses. Her joy now was clear. Erisiel praised Hiyori's purity, silently thinking on the shifts among the princesses. Lloyd watched quietly, feeling relieved. Hiyori was startled by the sudden noise. Lloyd watched as many princesses walked into the hall brightly. Kusunoha and Yusuriha saw Hiyori's shift in way. They watched her carefully, noting on her calm. Hiyori stood-eyed she used smoke to sleep better. The rest laughed, relieved she was in command of the ogre god. The team expressed that they liked Hiyori's active self. She felt accepted, a soft smile growing on her face. Lloyd asked the noise, seeing the team's odd force. He stayed alert, sensing the fine ties among the princesses. Hiyori's fit in with the team. The princesses, including Yusuriha and Kusunoha, felt relieved by her presence. Hiyori greeted Aurelie warmly. Lloyd watched quietly, seeing the bond building between the pupils. Professor Seba walked into the hall, amazed to see the team so early. He waved brightly at them. Seba asked Lloyd to go with him to gather items for class. Lloyd agreed, set to help. The princesses reviewed class representation. They chose to move together, making sure of fairness while readying for the day ahead. Aurelie Wade stepping up as class rep, hoping to use more time with Lloyd during their tasks. She judged herself the most fitting candidate, given the state and her link with Lloyd. Aurelius expressed her wish to learn more regarding Lloyd. She readied herself to take the part seriously. Hiyori admitted she merely stepped up because no other person was fitting. The rest acted with shock. Aureli stated she would judge who deserved to stand beside Lloyd. Everyone looked anxiously, sensing the stress. The princesses chose to state the class rep right away. Lloyd watched, seeing the thrill and hope round him. At the Magic Academy, Lloyd and the 6 princesses met, stress high as the class rep contest started. Princess Hiyori, Arsmaria's piece, looked setly, daring the rest for the pride to stand for their class with honor. Some princesses tried to hold Hiyori, worried she might overwork herself and cause unplanned troubles through the match. Others watched eagerly, taking the match as a chance to view Lloyd's focus and care, their thrill clear. Finally, Hiyori met Lloyd directly in a duel, their blades hitting smoothly, showing shared respect and top skill. At the school, pupils talked of Hiyori's chances of winning the class rep duel against Lloyd, thrill and stress rising. Lloyd watched closely as Hiyori readied, while guides asked whether this was a wise choice for her. Hiyori set her mind, tuning her personal care and her duties, set to show herself fit for Lloyd's praise. The other princesses saw her pause, and chose to step in, taking over the match for her. Yuzurhaf and Kuzunoha declared they would steer the class, making sure of a lively, fun, and active place for everyone. At the school, the guide asked Yuzurhaf and Kuzunoha which one would be the true class rep. Both girls claimed they ought to be candidates, pushing against one another, making noise and stress in the room. Yuzuria claimed that the two of them marked as one person, declining to be split for the match. Hiyori and others were shocked as the rule was detailed. Apart, they merely count as half a person. The guide alerted them that ignoring easy rules could touch the work of their class duties, stressing rules. Roken declined to break the rules, making Yuzuriha and Kuzunoha call him a traitor, upset by his rules. From the crowd, Hiyori and Kennen watched the duel turn, seeing Aureli's early stop and the axe it caused. Kennen blushed shyly when asked regarding her join, slow to step forward while others teased her. She politely said no, detailing that she would set on her brother outside of class, putting him top. Hiyori voiced curiosity regarding Kennen's thought, asking for details later, keeping the room's stress mixed with soft interest. Hiyori and Ryunia came out as the last picks for class rep, shocking everyone in the room. Ryunia stated she had no private interest in rule, caring merely about Lloyd, ignoring social rivalries. Hiyori detailed the tasks of the part, stressing unity and order, while the other princesses watched closely. Ryunia judged the act of blind duty to rules, claiming it forced lies and broke natural habits. Hiyori and the rest acted with shock, as Ryunia dared her, stating the act of lies was bad to view. The school's directors alerted Ryunia that more insults would disrespect the Holy Empire, claiming order in the room. Ryunia and Hiyori met each other, with Ryunia blaming Hiyori of being overly involved in human items. Yuzuriha and Kuzunoha prompted themselves that their fight could show poorly on Lloyd, feeling a mix of fear and care. Kanon acted hard to the match, shouting "brother," as the stress grew between the princesses and candidates. Suri arrived with weight, asking what everyone was fighting about, trying to bring back order and clarity to the messy state. Suri stepped near, prompting everyone that Lloyd and the professor were still busy, and their aid was needed. She scolded the team for slowing the class rep pick, pushing them to set on duty. The princesses realized they had been still, standing idle instead of aiding Lloyd, making a pause in the match. Yuzuriha and Kuzunoha admitted their error, blaming the noise made by Aureli, accepting their slip. Ryunia declared that Suzuri, who took firm steps, deserved the part of class rep, closing the fight. The princesses praised Suzuri, accepting that she was fit for the part and cheering her drive. Suzuri was officially set as the class rep, closing the long talk and fight among the candidates. The rest, counting Ryunia and Hiyori, watched in shock, asking what had happened during the pick path. Kanon detailed that the state had been fixed quietly, and the pick had been made based on work. The princesses thought on the odd deal, seeing it was rare for everyone to take the same end. The princesses chose not to take the class rep part, claiming it was too much work for them. Lloyd was set as the other class rep, carrying duty while others saw his work. He promised to lift the class so that everyone could enjoy it fully, showing lead and care. Yuzuriha urged Lloyd to join for the same classes, wanting to work together and stay close. The princesses thought on how dear Lloyd was to everyone, knowing his charm and honor. Kanon sat silently, valuing Lloyd's path, hoping to turn as true and inspiring as him one day. At the Human Empire Dorm's dojo back, Kanon trained alone, setting her blade work while the wind turned around her. Kanon's strike hit against a trick, showing a fake prince shaped after her older brother, testing her accuracy and force. Her blade shook slightly under stress, but she kept her stance, pushing herself to pass the trick's trial. Kanon realized her present power was small. She needed to turn stronger to match Lloyd's grand skill. Meanwhile, plans for the coming Spring Magic Festival at the school carried on, marking new trials and paths for Kanon. At the room, the special group split into two teams for a match-team clash, with everyone giving close focus. The leaders were named. Lloyd and Susuri would steer their set teams, setting the tone for the coming clash. Rules were detailed. Pupils would wear the same magic clothes and launch mana strikes, with removal based on hit detection. Pupils took their clothes, each piece tuned to show individual mana color, readying them for the test ahead. The guide showed the garment's light work, stressing that merely the set spot could shift color, making sure of fair fight. Kanon and her peers cheered as the clothes shifted colors, showing each pupil's mana, testing the gear's work. Lloyd and another pupil watched the thrill, seeing that the warm match promised a fun, engaging test for everyone. The guides detailed that the test would join the class, forcing princesses who often clashed to work strategically. Teams were mixed, adding suspense as pupils tuned to new partners and looked to the magic fight. Pupils gathered, talking plans and readying themselves mentally for the coming test, eager to show their skills and order. The guide expressed thrill, looking to watch the coming match 1 week later, marking the festival's real start. One princess declared win the single allowed end, displaying her fierce drive and hot mind toward the coming clash. Other pupils expressed joy at joining together, enjoying the chance to work and build bonds prior to the match. Kanon readied herself, set to help fully and work as a team to maximize their chances of success. The pupils together set their eyes on winning, tuning plan and teamwork while honoring each other's skills during practice. Kanon stated the plan, setting Rian and Savine to ambush spots while watching foe steps with accuracy. She detailed the strike team shape, showing where each of the 5 left pupils would step ahead and hit. Roken and Sir Dago were set to scout, though one pupil expressed doubt regarding their work in this part. Kanon asked whether being on the front lines was smart, judging risks for herself and her team. She stressed lead, prompting the team that true leaders share duty and never leave team to fight alone. Kanon asked the plan, worried that running without fighting might risk loss the point Susuri was hit. She observed the team silently, seeing that Renia showed no doubts to the plan, keeping a quiet presence. Renia admitted she had been bored and had fallen asleep, showing an easy mind toward the talk. Kanon paused, weighing how to move while tuning her own skills with the team's strategic needs. Cersei detailed Kanon's powers and flaws, clearing that clashes relying purely on mana were not her skill, steering spot choice. Kanon asked the team to pick between winning or standing out, stressing the value of making a clear choice. The peers deferred to her lead, agreeing to take whatever plan she finally chose for the match. Kanon paused, aware of the stress and duty, unsure how to tune spirit with practical force. Uraha comforted Lloyd, advising care and seeing that Kanon had been forced into such picks prior, showing her skill. Kanon thought on Susuri's work, understanding that being in charge meant taking duty and acting for the good of the team. Uraha suggested letting Kanon move freely, trusting her judgment and skill as a leader in the team. Lloyd thought on his past, recalling the weight of duty when first joining the King's Royal Guard. He saw that the team kept having issues, while remembering the time he first met Arsmeria. Kanon stayed calm, trying to lead and stop the team from rising into noise during plans. Despite some members offering heavy plans, Kanon stayed set, understanding that lead meant keeping control and careful strategy.
The woods grew vibrant with excitement as Lloyd and his peers readied for the Spring Magic Gala's special class fight, Magic Paint. They took positions carefully, focused sharp, ready for the trial ahead. At the signal, the pupils charged forward, sprinting through trees with agility. Aurelius and Cannon led their squad, advancing with precision, while scouts faded into the brush. Lloyd reminded himself to follow the plan, hovering above the canopy to keep a clean view of his squad's steps. The plan was straightforward. 5 core members guarded the center while scouts covered all paths, ensuring no rival advanced undetected. Time passed in tense quiet. Updates from the scouts never came, leaving Lloyd and his allies unsure, awaiting the first mark of their foes. Lady Susiri questioned the squad as scouts relayed baffling movements. Lloyd's group couldn't pinpoint enemy spots, as anxiety grew among allies. Lloyd evaluated setups mentally, realizing the rival squad split into 2-person pairs, able to react fast and potentially encircle his team. Unexpectedly, the rival team launched an ambush, striking fast from hidden spots, forcing Lloyd and Susiri to react instantly. Aurelius and Cannon stepped forward, building a defensive line to shield Lloyd and Susiri, keeping attackers at bay firmly. The rival released magic beasts, doggos, from hiding. Lloyd and the squad braced themselves, preparing to counter the sudden strike. Aurelius noticed magic doggos charging suddenly. Cannon warned the squad. Susiri readied defensive magic to clear the incoming beasts. Aurelius needed to thin the beast spirit's ranks first. Susiri struggled managing them, while the twins watched warily nearby. Aurelius raised her palms, summoning magic rings of command. She aimed to master the wild beasts efficiently. Lloyd realized the beasts were a bait. The foe aimed to divide him from Susiri. He prepared to rush. Iria tagged Aurelius, signaling help arrived. The group gathered fast, answering the sudden ambush with coordination and speed. Aurelius and Hiyori arrived unexpectedly. Aurelius demanded explanations from Renunia and Alphonse. The squad regrouped urgently to shield Susiri. Susiri faced hostile forces alone. One squad member held them back, while the other ensured she survived the chaotic battle. Lloyd realized his setup was broken. Despite careful setup, he readied to intercept foes and help Susiri immediately. The ambushing twins appeared suddenly. Their strike caught Susiri's allies off guard, forcing them into defensive moves. Aurelius detailed the plan clearly. 2 members executed ambushes while others cornered Susiri, securing tactical advantage for their team. Lloyd confronted Dumulus, questioning her moves. Aurelius faulted his predictable habits. The group braced, analyzing setup and enemy spots carefully. Dumulus shared her logic behind the ambush. She meant to offer Lloyd's team perspective, letting them grasp her strategy. Lloyd moved cautiously, gripping his blade. His eyes searched for openings while reading the twins' ambush spots, getting ready to strike. Dumulus's foe cast a spell on their blade, gathering magic power for a strong offensive hit in response. The blow landed suddenly, forcing Dumulus to dodge. The team answered instantly, adjusting their actions to counter the unexpected hit. Lloyd focused on his blade, resolved to defeat his opponent. He deemed the weapon adequate for the coming blow. Aurelius watched from afar. She worked out Lloyd's spot, and realized her joint attack could force enemies to reveal positions. Lloyd finished his calculated strike, searching for hidden foes. His idea seemed flawless, yet he felt hidden peril remaining. The rival faced Lloyd, stating that his routine actions enabled counter-strikes. Aurelius's input showed flaws in battle choices. Lloyd accepted Aurelius's point. Both understood that in real warfare, reading each other's moves shaped tactic execution. The twins cheered for Lloyd. He gripped his blade, reminded that this was a game, yet stakes felt real. Lloyd's strike pressed on. Star sword art, glittering stars cut paths through the woods, aiming to uncover every rival spot. He searched carefully, expecting no safe haven. Lloyd's design felt solid, but he stayed alert for surprises hiding nearby. The rival faulted Lloyd's style. Aurelius reminded him that routine moves let the foe counter and anticipate tactics. Lloyd executed guardian arts, first form Nagi. He moved forward boldly, combining plan with forceful swordplay in the clash. Accepting the test, Lloyd took up the leader role. He rushed ahead, shouting to fight, determined to reply in kind. Lady Susiri launched a rapid strike using her Star Sword Art North Star, while Lloyd blocked using a round shield. Susiri noted that her form and slashes were flawless, yet the opponent's guard stayed intact. She felt hesitation sneaking in, questioning her capacity to lead the squad effectively against formidable foes.
Support from her allies offered Susiri fresh focus, sparking her resolve to push forward with talent. The squad cheered for Susiri, honoring her bravery, lifting her spirit, and deepening the ties between her and teammates. Lady Susiri received praise from her teammate, motivating her to charge forward with fresh resolve. She noted that leaders bear heavy burdens owing to the people who back them in every fight. Images of past leaders who cared deeply for their allies showed Susiri why she respected them. She realized her primary goal was to act in the present and offer her best for her team. Susiri delivered a mighty moon sword art half-moon blow, merging focus, skill, and backing from her allies. Lady Susiri moved unexpectedly, her sword technique completely fluid and impossible for Lloyd to predict. She confessed she wasn't as skilled as her elder brother or Lloyd, but ready to fight regardless. Susiri focused on the teammates who relied on her, carrying the weight of the moment. With restored faith, she delivered moon sword art gibbous moon, focusing her power and resolve. The nearby allies stared in awe, respecting her talent and the massive force she wielded in a single blow. Susiri understood that even a tiny start could expand into endless options through effort and focus. Her duty and firm drive changed her sword into a real weapon, showing her devotion to duty. Allies admired her bravery, praising the princess for her resolve and motivating aura in battle. Her force came from fighting for others, drawing power beyond personal bounds to shield and assist. Lloyd accepted that he also had to act firmly, grasping that unit work and resolve can alter the course of events. Susiri evaluated the state calmly, noting that the clash had grown beyond expectations. She readied to act, signaling the start of a firm counterstrike against her foe. Lloyd knew he couldn't match her talent even by enchanting his blade, looking for an opening instead. Susiri hit with accuracy, compelling Lloyd to react defensively as her sword talent overpowered him. Lloyd was shocked to see a familiar blade show up. Recognizing it and doubting its presence in combat, Lloyd seized the sword, shocked by the sudden pull toward it, feeling a secret force inside. He looked up to see Susiri advancing, her actions sharp and measured, showing complete command. Released from limits, Susiri's aura made Lloyd understand the huge test ahead and the blade's weight. He saw that the weapon and its force could shift the fight's course, calling for immediate steps. Allies called out to Lloyd, feeling peril, while he prepared to reply, aware that something was wrong. Susiri leaped into the air, her blade cutting through space with incredible speed and force, forcing Lloyd to guard. Lloyd froze as he saw a dark shadow holding the blade, his mind racing to grasp the unexpected presence. Lloyd advanced warily through the woods, his actions odd and rigid. Cannon noted his empty stare and strange aura. He kept walking without hesitation, as if sleeping, yet perfectly steady with his spear. No flaw showed. Cannon struggled to gauge Lloyd's speed, understanding he moved faster than any rival she had fought prior. Every blow from Lloyd held massive power, far past a match, as if he were a war master held back before. Suddenly, Miria arrived, panicked, calling for her brother. She sprinted forward, observing Lloyd's relentless push with rising anxiety. Miria reached out, shocked that Lloyd rejected her magic link, breaking their regular mental bond surprisingly. Cannon watched from afar, thrilled and anxious, understanding this minute marked Lloyd's complete awakening as Guardian Vance. The earth cracked violently under Lloyd's steps as he unleashed power that sent shockwaves across the field. All nearby ducked naturally, shielding themselves, as the soil shook and rocks flew around them in fear. Hiyori watched closely, noting that this wild power was not a domain art but Lloyd's raw battle force. The squad saw a barrier blocking their line of sight, preventing them from viewing Lloyd's match directly. Cannon and Miria understood even Dragon Princess's mighty strikes couldn't pierce the wall, showing its incredible strength. The soil shook violently as fissures formed, marking the immense power Lloyd released inside the closed space. Inside the dark area, Lloyd stood ready, aware of being trapped but ready to face the unknown, heavy energy. Watchers noted Lloyd's battle lacked his classic grace, and the mana coming from him felt foreign, unlike his regular manner. Lloyd's look was blank, his restraint completely lost, leaving him lethal and unpredictable on the field. Cannon understood his gear reacted to external magic, spreading over his body, tied directly to the unknown spear. Cannon charged, attempting to hold him back from hurting anyone, but Lloyd struck with massive power, barely held back by her move. In a rapid turn, Lloyd and Vance stood face to face, mirrored and tense, their stances reflecting old training and ties. Lloyd, now fully aware, quietly spoke to Vance, clarifying his presence and goals,
offering clarity and peace to the team. Lloyd looked bewildered, wondering why he was in the same odd venue again, sensing a dark aura drawing near. Dark tendrils grew from the shadows, reaching toward him as he fought to keep command and focus. Freed faced Lloyd, noting the massive malice and feeling overwhelming him, mirroring a deep personal fight. Lloyd, caught between fury and panic, understood he was at risk of being consumed by the dark around him. Cannon leaped forward, hitting with precision to halt Lloyd's wild movement, clashing with his power and reclaiming brief balance. Cannon fought to hold Lloyd, but he refused to release the spear, resisting all her attempts. She cast a moonsword art move, striking with a crescent-shaped blade, seeking to stun and shift him. The dark drank her light, making her realize her hits were useless against the rising energy overwhelming Lloyd. She calculated that relying on raw power would fail, considering disenchant magic to weaken the dark magic. Cannon concentrated, remembering the hidden royal method able to cancel magic, hoping she could execute it in time. Cannon stared at Lloyd, stunned by his blank face, feeling the huge dark force still consuming him. Other pupils watched from outside, anxious and discussing whether to call a teacher as the shakes continued. Miria attempted to quiet everyone, asking for calm while Lloyd and Cannon fought inside the unstable space. Aurelius reminded the team that Lloyd and Cannon were their chosen guides, inspiring hope and faith in their talents. Lady Aurelius, anxious for her brother, ran forward with drive, hoping he stayed safe despite the turmoil. Cannon sprinted across the fissures in the soil, resolved to execute the hidden method and rescue Lloyd, who had faded. Suddenly Lloyd returned from the dark, raising his spear just as Cannon turned, barely dodging a lethal strike.
Lloyd drops into the breaking field, his blade raised. Cannon follows close, eyes wide, sensing fast danger. The foe strikes unexpectedly. Lloyd concentrates, and a soft image of Arsmeria shows up beside him. The vision boosts his drive, steering his actions. Lloyd halts, confused by a fast, odd feeling. He senses a key figure watching, knowing a familiar aura. Arsmeria's ghost stands quietly, wishing for a peaceful realm. Lloyd understands the size of her lasting goal. Resolved, Lloyd vows to guard her dream. He has little time but commits fully to her side. Lloyd extends a palm, guided by his master's words. He realizes Arsmeria is the most vital person in his life. Arsmeria smiles at Lloyd, eyes weeping. She glows brightly, a guiding light that never fades. Lloyd doubts his name and duty. Confusion hits as he struggles to recall a key memory from his past. Firm, Lloyd battles the darkness wrapping him. He refuses to drop his reason for being. Lloyd calls out to Freed. He searches for clarity, ready to face whatever test comes. Lloyd struggles as shadows pull him backward. Freed's presence looms, and the enemy's dark energy grows close to him. Cannon plants her blade firmly, stopping the enemy's drive. She stands firm, guarding Lloyd and gaining time. Cannon catches a brief chance. She leaps into motion, eyes sharp, ready to use the foe's flaw. She acts decisively, shouting her intent. Her strike pours energy, seeking to shatter the enemy's guard. Cannon releases the human empire's secret method, sky full of stars. Vivid light brightens the field, swamping the enemy. Lloyd faces an odd form in darkness. Shadows twist around him, threatening to swamp him. Light suddenly breaks from him. Lloyd feels shocked, sensing a new energy waking inside. He sees Lady Suziri showing up amid the glow. Her presence offers hope and safety. Lloyd stands steady, viewing the rising light around him. The enemy's dark starts to crumble. Lady Suziri's energy joins with Lloyd's, lighting up the field. Dark drops back as hope restores force. Lloyd floats alone in the air, held still. Quiet wraps him as he thinks over the battle. A brilliant glow breaks nearby. Lloyd feels its force, lighting up the dark that had threatened him. Lady Suziri shows up in the glow. Lloyd recognizes her, shocked and eased by her presence. The field collapses around them. Freed and other allies witness the break, knowing the battle's end. Cannon runs toward Lloyd. He regains control, holding his head, ready to heal fully after the clash. Lloyd looks toward Lady Suziri, confused but eased to see her after the fight. Cannon's eyes fill with tears as she views Lloyd, seeing his survival and grit. Cannon charges ahead and hugs Lloyd tightly. The action shocks everyone around them. Freed and other allies watch, eased and smiling. They verify that Lloyd and Suziri are safe. Suziri and the others note Lloyd's gear is dirtied. Despite small issues, the group honors their victory together. Cannon drops slightly, drained from the fierce fight. She remembers how much work everyone offered. Lloyd and the squad honor the day together. Sasiri's group comes out winning, bringing smiles and ease to all. Other pupils approach Lloyd, checking if he is okay. He accepts their care, feeling grateful. Freed and the other teammates calm Lloyd, saying the game was fun despite the result. Cannon hugs Lloyd, anxious at first but eased now. Lloyd apologizes, noting the fast break of their mental link. Lloyd thinks over the spear he held. Its force took him over, and he lost all control. Now, the arm has faded. Lloyd turns to Freed and the other pupils. He looks over the campus grounds, doubting the odd events that took place. The group meets nearby, some still healing, others honoring their win. The Heavenly Realm halls were quiet in the morning. Cannon and other pupils slept calmly, unaware of the day starting. Outside, a giant beast moved its wings, stretching across the yard. Sunbeams reflected off its coat, marking the start of drills. Lloyd practiced tirelessly, running alongside the beast. His moves were sharp, showing his skill as a guardian knight. Tet, the giant magic beast, watched quietly. 8 years of set drills had built a tight bond between them. Lloyd sat, doubting if his woods training raised his talents. Tet listened, licking his paw, patiently awaiting answers. Lloyd thought over drills, realizing the world held unexpected tests and tiny surprises all around him. He recalled holding a dark spear during a fight, which had almost hurt Lady Suzeri, filling him with worry. Tet watched as Lloyd pondered if plots or probes by the princess's mother touched his recent fights in the woods. Images of an old friend surfaced, someone who felt like blood, yet their cold stare troubled Lloyd's heart. Tet turned his head, silently questioning Lloyd about his lost tie, prompting Lloyd to review past bonds and faith. Lloyd tried to lighten the mood, passing time with Tet to kill hours and keep their bond tight. Tet reminded Lloyd of his private drills, noting he had never named a best friend before. Lloyd pondered Tet's force and origin, silently doubting why the magic beast was so strong. He showed internal fights about rules stopping him from giving old life memories, and his isolation without his old friend. Despite his guarded heart, Lloyd admitted that someone stepping into these prized memories built a small break in his quiet. Lloyd squeezed his fist, feeling torn as time seemed to warp memories he thought stayed fixed. Tet reminded him that shift is normal, and that even time's run cannot be halted. Lloyd understood that to conquer his issues, he only had to return to his base self and trust his force. He pondered his rebirth path, seeing that 1,000 years felt short compared to a magic beast's life. Lloyd asked Tet if the beast held friends besides him, finding a tiny, unsaid tie that deepened their bond. The princesses debated Tet's roots, noting he came from the Beast Empire and shocked them in the Heavenly Empire. Tet corrected Lloyd, explaining that unlike lions, cats rarely gather in groups, causing Lloyd to apologize for mixing up. Lloyd tried to fix it, seeing Tet's feelings and admitting he was reckless in his words. Back at the hall, a cheerful greeting met Lloyd, with his sister offering breakfast made to shock him after drills. Cannon and the rest gave warmth and care, offering Lloyd the small joys of family and ties in the school. The house gathered for breakfast, inviting Sol and Cosette to join, showing warmth and unity in the hall. Lloyd checked his classes, weighing tips for core classes and viewing books for topics he wished to read. The younger princesses eagerly asked about school life, making Lloyd feel both shocked and nostalgic as an older pupil. He liked the range of plates, noting classic meals from various realms, and seeing his cooking talent rise. The active morning reminded Lloyd of life at the manor, linking him back to memories of home and family. Lloyd felt overly soft after a recent event, understanding he had to regain calm and focus on daily life. He listened to the princesses thrill, promising to show them every spot on campus during their next trip. Miss Raksha showed up, reporting on the odd magic used the previous day, showing her serious stance on the probe. Lloyd and Raksha agreed to keep probing the state, both resolved to find the root of the magic. The magic used matched the same energy used in the capture of Princess Hiyori, deepening Lloyd's fear for her safety. Lloyd realized a single foe targeted the princesses, seeing the threat was skilled in high-rank spells. He felt terror and strain, blaming himself for lacking force to stop past dangers. Raksha admitted her own doubts, unsure if she could shield Princess Hiyori from future threats. Lloyd calmed himself, understanding the weight of duty as a guard, and sharing the sense of weakness with Raksha. Joined, they resolved to back the princesses, operating as class heads and guards, resolved to stop extra peril. Lloyd told Raksha she was vital to him, stressing the value of their bond and shared duty. Raksha, flustered and blushing, offered thanks, while others watched with humor at Lloyd's sincere words. Lloyd noted that instant warp let him track shifts without tools, boosting his faith and shielding the princesses. He planned to trap the foe targeting Princess Hiyori, then Princess Yuseri, ensuring no other princess was hurt. The two young princesses were told to go to class as normal, while Lloyd and Tet took duty for probing the threat. The first slot introduced base drills, focusing on magic used across attributes, alongside simple spell drills. Second slot covered magic past, following the teacher's text and stressing the growth of magic knowledge over time. Lloyd's third slot brought classic heavenly speech, converting old texts while feeling tense around the odd pupils in class. The fourth slot probed magic gear, offering direct work to learn setup and practical use across campus. A guest teacher was brought in, detailing the build of a simple magic tool to boost pupil learning. Professor Yuka greeted the class cheerfully, offering herself warmly, and building a good, active room for studying magic. Yuka Amanagi entered the room confidently, introducing herself as head of the study lab, promising help. Lloyd sat quietly, watching Yuka as she prepared to work with all pupils during their tasks. Yuka smiled warmly, her thrill and force radiating across the space, guiding all quietly with her presence. Lloyd felt an odd closeness upon seeing Yuka, doubting if he had met her in the past. Memories moved inside Lloyd, making him wonder if Yuka Amanagi had seen him before, stirring quiet doubt. The teacher presented the class with making a staff-shaped magic tool, explaining its value as a staff. Pupils were told to pick a clear core stone and select a base of iron, wood, or glass. The room hummed as pupils admired the bright items, comparing gems like they were at a shop. Using various colored side stones, pupils understood they could send magic they weren't natively born with. By channeling energy through their staffs, pupils saw the tools widen fight options and raise spell versatility well. Yuka saw pupils focus on a gold staff concept set with red roses, showing special magic capacity. She detailed how using core stones matching their native energy let pupils throw magic at higher power easily. By passing energy through the staff, pupils could focus their force, creating dense magic power instead of wide output. Yuka showed that staffs worked as shift tools and power boosts, enabling accurate mighty spells far beyond normal limits. Pupils probed distinct base items, seeing water and wind energy work better with wood, testing mixed sets to refine magic. Lloyd watched the updated magic tools, recalling the giant tool from the entrance test and gala gear. He pondered how staffs had changed, turning easier to handle over 1,000 years, shocking him quietly. Yuka explained that his vast, clear energy let him guide magic without leaning on any set tool. Pupils practiced with staffs, seeing they could govern energy accurately, focusing force to raise both accuracy and output. Yuka hugged Lloyd, showing ease and joy that he had finally returned to see her after the entry tests. Lloyd remembered Professor Saba's note about retaking the magic check, feeling nervous about the coming trial. His peers calmed him, forgiving past absences and explaining that the chance had never come up before. Yuka approached Lloyd, showing her thrill at seeing him again and holding him close after so long. She forgave him for missing past events, offering care while cementing their deep tie and faith. Yuka admitted she already knew all about Lloyd, exposing the link between them as Guardian Vance and his rebirth. Yuka recalled Lloyd's clear energy from the entry tests and pondered how to evaluate his force using domain artes. She checked his talents during the fight with the Demon Princess and found a match with the Heavenly Emperor's anti-war domain. Probing deeper, Yuka understood Lloyd matched an item from 1,000 years back, confirming his old link. Viewing his match with the human princess, she confirmed his talent and noted he naturally drifted toward the ancient spear. Yuka felt rewarded, seeing Lloyd's talents wake up fully, liking that her careful checks and work were finally proven. Lloyd faced issues in the room, drawing the worry of his peers who watched Yuka's unusually tight stance. Kanon turned defensive, acting firmly as she noted Lloyd in fast peril, stirring strain among the pupils. Yuka and others stepped in to stop fights, attempting to pull Cannon from Lloyd to keep order. In the mess, Yuka accidentally used a magic tool wrong, causing chaos and sending magic effects across the room. In the mess, Yuka moved close to Lloyd, accidentally pushing him forward, creating a stiff and tight moment between them. During the room mess, Yuka dropped forward onto Lloyd, creating a tight, awkward moment between them. The pupils nearby noted the closeness, while Lloyd and Yuka felt a deep, personal moment. Lloyd checked if Yuka was hurt, showing care as she healed from the accidental drop. Yuka shook, startled by the close touch, blushing while Lloyd stayed cautious and supportive. Lloyd made sure she was fine after overworking herself with magic, easing her flustered and spinning state. Lloyd took a break from the room mess, leaving his peers to handle Yuka and carry on tasks. Yuka, feeling thrilled, leaned forward happily, recognizing Lloyd's presence as a mighty and familiar guard. She accepted that the spear had been useful to him, liking his talents and the tie it showed. A dark form, Dean, showed up in the door, silently watching events, adding strain to the otherwise active scene. Dean told Yuka to keep manners while speaking with Lloyd, reminding her to hold her actions in check. Dean asked Yuka about seeing Lloyd, curious about her thoughts on the legendary guard from 1,000 years back. Yuka boldly described Lloyd as the silver guard from a millennium ago, praising his incredible talents and past. Dean understood Vance Strahl had joined Lloyd, linking the old guard with the present hero's path. He addressed the Heavenly Emperor formally, shutting his book and stressing the weight of Lloyd's link with the ancient, honored guards. Lloyd, Cannon, and Miuria stood outside the school, seeing strain in Miuria's look. She seemed unusually drained after recent probes. Miuria checked magic data from Lloyd's uniform, analyzing potential threats. Her research hit a key stage, linking recent odd cases. Lloyd pondered cautiously on the recent calm, noting the lack of strikes during the gala. He stayed sharp despite ease. The trio viewed the campus grounds, seeing the dean had returned. Miuria hoped to update him on recent shifts. Lloyd and the women debated the dean's trait, noting he had been away during tests and events. Questions stayed open. Lloyd learned of the dean, known as the kaleidoscope prodigy. The dean focused on anti-war study and rarely showed up openly. Miuria checked the staff list early to narrow down potential targets. Lloyd and Cannon watched her detailed work. Miuria hugged Lloyd and Cannon tightly, showing care for them. She reassured them even if she came home late. The three readied for the day, with Miuria urging the youths to focus on school while she managed duties. Lloyd joined in gym class, led by a teacher. They trained their bodies to back magic skills well. The pupils lined up for physical drills, splitting into pairs for 3 workout sets. Lloyd checked for a partner missing today. Lloyd saw the missing Roken and weighed who he should pair with, feeling unsure about the drill ahead. 2 pupils offered to pair with Lloyd, including Jild, showing readiness and thrill for drills. The pupils showed skill, jumping and planning. Lloyd watched strong methods while seeing weaker ones left out. Suddenly Princesses Kuzunoha and Yuzuriha showed up, running to Lloyd with thrill, shocking him and the other pupils nearby. Lloyd met Princesses Kuzunoha and Yuzuriha, shocked by their fast presence at the drill grounds. The 2 princesses took Lloyd's hands, pushing him to follow them. They ran fast, leaving others behind. Lloyd doubted their moves. The princesses led him toward a hiding spot in the core class hall. Kuzunoha and Yuzuriha explained excitedly that their father had just reached the school, driving haste. Lloyd processed the update, seeing the weight of their father's presence and what it might mean for their plans. Lloyd, Kuzunoha, and Yuzuriha met the Beast Emperor Kusunoki Tirfa at the school. The ruler greeted them warmly. The princesses anxiously pushed Roken to aid them in dodging their father, showing tense moves and speed. Tirfa acknowledged the faith of Roken and his guards, choosing to search for the princesses himself. Lloyd and the princesses used Guardian Art's second form, getting ready for defense while staying tight together. The trio dropped their aura and sound, detailing to Lloyd how they could safely stay hidden for now. Kuzunoha and Yuzuriha explained that a teacher had called them and their father, unexpectedly arriving from the beast realm. Lloyd realized Roken had gone ahead to manage their father, clearing his absence from class and dropping worry. The princesses playfully squeezed and poked Lloyd, sparking laughter and confusion as they maneuvered the tight spot. Lloyd struggled to hold them steady in the tight spot, pushing them to stop moving while keeping balance. Suddenly, a tiny squeak showed up, shocking them as they saw a tiny pest nearby, adding strain to the moment. The mouse-like pest shocked Lloyd and the princesses. They realized it was a miniature spirit used to track items. A blast broke out nearby, forcing them to shift fast and dodge the impact while staying close together. Lloyd verified the blast source, seeing the speed as the Beast Emperor drawn near the scene. The princesses were seen by their father, who stated he had found them, raising strain for Lloyd and the group. The current Beast Emperor revealed himself, demanding they go back to the Beast Realm, leaving Lloyd and the princesses in shock. Kuzunoha and Yuzuriya argued against leaving the school so fast, anxious about missing tasks after barely a month. The Beast Emperor ordered that Yuzuriya could stay, but Kuzunoha had to return with him right away. Lloyd and the princesses reacted with shock, especially Kuzunoha, struggling to accept the fast order. The ruler reminded Kuzunoha of a groom awaiting her back home, holding his rule and her duty. Lloyd tried to question the order, but the ruler noted details would be explained on the path back, leaving Kuzunoha anxious. Kuzunoha held tight onto Lloyd, stating she was already dating him and refusing to go home with her father. The Beast Emperor noted this pushback, pausing as Lloyd and Kuzunoha braced for his reaction, tense and unsure. Lloyd carried Basti through the school hall, startling everyone as she declared she wouldn't go home. Bastat's statement pulled focus from the Beast Realm head, who questioned the odd claim of human love. Bastat praised Lloyd's wins, noting his top test rank and leadership, surprising the leader further. The Beast Realm guards protested involvement, but Bastat pushed to drag Lloyd into their affairs despite claims. The Beast Realm head offered to start talks anew, demanding Lloyd join them to win Basti and Princess Kuzunoha's hands. The Beast Realm head allowed Lloyd to speak while Bastat prepared, sharpening her nails in anticipation of talks. Princess Kuzunoha overheard, anxious that Lloyd was pulled into risky matters despite his honor and restraint. Kuzunoha understood she was the only one who truly grasped Lloyd's goals and felt forced to step in. Kuzunoha charged forward, startling Lloyd and Basti as the strain between the Beast Realm guards rose. Lloyd and Basti tried to explain, but Basti admitted shock at Lloyd's sudden wedding offer, leaving all stunned. Arsmeria pondered her life, remembering how she had turned down every wedding offer, finding them draining. Lloyd approached her, seeing her fear that marriage could exist without any real heart or link. Arsmeria offered a design, proposing that she and Vance pretend for show, catching him slightly off guard. Lloyd saw such a path would be complex, and he might never enter that space again safely. Meanwhile, Lloyd was pulled along by Bastat's drive, charging forward despite the mess, ready to face any test. Lloyd read the water beasts in class, learning their delicate nature and the careful care needed to avoid harm. He nervously readied to display for the ruler, unsure how to approach the odd crowd. Bastat warmly joined him, offering help and teamwork while stressing their joint task in front of peers. Lloyd followed her lead, adjusting his actions as she helped him, making sure they performed the task right. Meanwhile, Kuzunoha showed up, playfully scolding them for holding private chats during class, catching Lloyd and Bastide off guard. Professor Yuka showed up suddenly, surprising Lloyd and Bastide as she insisted on fixing their actions during class. She noted Lloyd seemed troubled and offered to hear him in her lab after school, but he declined. Bastide reminded Lloyd of set plans with her father, showing that his times were already fully booked. During the class display, an error caused the water beasts to react, creating chaos around Lloyd and Basti. The resulting splash shocked everyone, forcing Lloyd and Basti to react fast while Yuka scolded them for lack of focus. Basti detailed to Kennen the confusion caused by Professor Yuka, leaving her confused about the state. Both Basti and Kuzunoha looked soaked, showing the outcome of the past messy water beast task. The campus chime marked the third slot, classic heavenly speech, as pupils readied for class. Lloyd met both Bastet and Kuzunoha, who reminded him of his fake partner oaths and urged him to stay at school. He reluctantly followed them into class, unsure how he would manage the rising duties and playful mess. Lloyd panicked as a group of outsiders suddenly showed up, driving the teacher to insist they leave right away. He tried to think of a side plan, hoping to sway Princess Kuzunoha to shift to it, Lloyd felt helpless in the tense state, seeing he couldn't take any useful steps despite his past skill. Basti questioned Professor Uaka's stubbornness, annoyed at the lack of movement and blurred goals. Professor Uaka stayed quiet and serious, dismissing the strain and insisting there was no need for such worry. Professor Uaka stood sternly before Lloyd and Basti, stressing her focus and goal since entering the school. She detailed that she had thrown away everything to come here, with only the dark domain validating her life choices. Yuka revealed she had waited forever for someone able to shift her bland world, hinting at Lloyd's value. She stated that unless one was serious enough to wager their whole life on Lloyd, she would not yield him. Basti and Lloyd reacted in shock as Yuka suddenly stepped near, raising the strain and their doubt. Lloyd quickly raised his round shield, holding Professor Yuka before she could fall, blocking a dark accident. He excused himself, pulling back to give her time to heal while warning Basti and Kuzunoha not to stir trouble. Basti watched quietly, her look calm but deep, weighing the mark of Lloyd's moves and the messy state around them. Raksha moved through the library wing, carefully turning reference pages, eyes scanning every sheet with sharp accuracy. She checked files and times, matching names of old pupils with leftover magic traces, following links to cases touching Lloyd. All clues led directly to one source, Raksha silently verified, marking every detail carefully in her mind. Her thoughts stayed on reasons, doubting why Yuka targeted the princesses, and why Lloyd was constantly caught in danger. Lloyd showed up suddenly in the library, greeting Raksha with a smile, unaware of the deep probe she had unmasked. Raksha saw an unexpected visitor in the locked library wing, eyes growing wide at the strange form approaching quietly. Lloyd greeted her politely, using her name, showing knowledge of her status and past success. The visitor drifted down smoothly, presenting themselves with command, their aura showing authority and control over the space. Lloyd's focus met the new form, seeing their rank and feeling the weight of the meeting. The form showed themselves as Camille Lansford, the 60th Dean of the World Magic Academy, surprising Raksha with power. Lloyd's thrill showed as he saw his title had been known, his status as the God-tier guard accepted. Raksha reacted nervously to the praise, hearing others honor his wins, shocked by his incredible magic skills. Lloyd admitted feeling unusually easy around Professor Miuria, a sense of peace softening his usually bold stance. Raksha watched him closely, noting his youth despite holding the power of the dean's seat, blending charm and skill. She accepted Lloyd's special guards against her spell magic, seeing his rare force and calm made him unlike any other. Lloyd smiled politely, seeing the odd warmth in others, recalling how he had acted in past meetings differently. He focused on the threat to the princesses, analyzing the active cases and their potential routes carefully. Raksha shared her probe with Lloyd, revealing that Professor Yuka, head of Domain Magic Research, might be at fault. Lloyd reacted in shock, unable to accept the claims, struggling to process the unexpected data right away. Raksha voiced doubt and respect together, seeing Yuka's talent, drive, and the harsh states built during Lloyd's absence. Lloyd spoke for the dean, making sure to all that pupil security would now be fully locked down. He declared the core office would manage all potential risks, taking duty for shielding the school. Kuon showed up calmly, floating beside him as Matilda's assistant, her presence giving peace to those there. Lloyd voiced thanks for Professor Miria's help, thinking over the tests of taking over as dean. He helped Raksha feel easy, ensuring she could view her pupils without worry. Lloyd waved from the porch, asking Raksha to speak with him again when she had open time. He urged her to bring the God-tier guard along next time, showing care for active safety and teamwork. Lloyd thought over Yuka's recent steps, deeming them wrong, while noting the skill used to expose her role. He readied to act right away, checking all data he had gained to handle the state before it grew worse. Yuka looked unaware, while Lloyd concluded she was no longer needed, marking the end of their active contact. Kuon detailed that recent moves had drawn focus, and the dean had given a safe route for Yuka to leave. She stressed that Yunya had to exit the school right away to dodge extra issues and potential hits. Yunya accepted the state, understanding that her recent acts had gone too far and held harsh results. She saw the tactic meant removing Guardian Vance from her reach, cutting her access to him fully. Yunya accepted the plan, readying to act firmly and promising to raise stakes, ensuring her goals were done. The Magic Academy stood tall under the morning sky as Princess Kuzunoha readied for her next trial. The Beast Emperor reached the grounds, seeking to take Kuzunoha home, mistaking her goals with Lloyd at the school. Kuzunoha saw the Emperor's plans stalled time, making her work to keep the fake dating with Lloyd harder. She hoped Lloyd would follow along, letting them both stay at the school while dodging hits from outside pressure. Despite the fake story, Kuzunoha knew the trick could not last forever and accepted the set choices ahead. Princess Kuzunoha accepted the brief nature of her stay at the school, knowing tests would come. She and the Beast Emperor's guard debated her potential future as the sole real successor, while standing together. Kuzunoha's friend thought over small joys, picturing moments of shared laughs and warmth between them both. Both weighed the present carefully, hoping the school days could stay fixed, holding peace for now. Lloyd and Kuzunoha walked side by side, ready to meet future tests while valuing their present tie. Lloyd stayed after tasks ended, making sure he and Princess Kuzunoha could speak privately without noise. He suggested she turn down the marriage, but Kuzunoha stayed hesitant, torn by her tasks and the design. Kuzunoha detailed the marriage was a political tool, meant to boost ties and join rival groups. She detailed the past of the Beast Realm, its internal war, and the careful steps toward pact talks. Kuzunoha chose to stand on her own wishes, making sure her choices would be honored while balancing political tasks. Kuzunoha saw that her set choices in the Beast Realm would bring instant effects on the groups. She admitted that delaying or dodging the topic had worked till now, keeping fights briefly away. Kuzunoha thought over her wish to keep things as they are and to stay true to herself. Lloyd watched her carefully, seeing she fully understood her role as princess and the tasks she held. He saw that the school gave them both a rare chance to enjoy life and grow outside official tasks. Kuzunoha and her friend kept closeness, valuing equality and space while away from the political strain of the Beast Realm. She admitted to Lloyd that she avoided detailing realm matters but knew shift was set and undodgeable. Kuzunoha shared how much she liked being at the school, taking a side of herself free from duties. She wished to stay, liking the space and bonds she had made with her peers. Despite her role as the heir, Kuzunoha valued her individual space and heart, balancing duty with her own wants. Kuzunoha thought over her wants, seeing the space she tasted at the school was special compared to her life as successor. She accepted that time and states bound to bring shift, and the world outside would not stay fixed. Lloyd thought over his permanent role as a guard, understanding that his drive to aid others had never dropped in 1,000 years. Suddenly, a threat showed up, and both Lloyd and Kuzunoha moved naturally, shifting to shield themselves and others nearby. As they regrouped, Lloyd fought to understand the unfolding events, while making sure Kuzunoha and their friends were safe. Mother Mayuria reached the school, seeing that Lloyd had not yet returned from his tasks. She was met by the familiar magic cat, asking if she was looking for Lloyd and Kanon. Mayuria detailed that she held something key to tell Lloyd and wondered where he might be. Neither Lloyd nor Kanon had come back to the room, and Mayuria grew anxious about their location. The magic cat offered Mayuria a ride on its back to aid in finding them and giving her note. Mother Mayuria sent the magic cat to give her note, urging the friends to stay safe on their path. Lloyd saw Kuon entering the library, her presence signaling something odd was about to happen. Kuon started opening the school's magic core, quietly readying to make core shifts to the setup. Lloyd tried to step in as Kuon started code, altering admin rights and guard setups inside the school. Using mind spells, Lloyd locked Kuon's steps, attempting to stop chaos while keeping command of the state. Lloyd saw that Kuon had set a sleeping spell inside the school's magic setup during her task there. He reacted to her odd steps, questioning why she brushed off his offer to settle matters nicely. Kuon's steps confused him. He fought to grasp why someone so smart would act so wildly. The state made little sense to Lloyd, raising his annoyance as he tried to gauge the threat. Despite the confusion, Lloyd resolved to follow a side answer, aiming to halt the chaos and meet Kuon if needed. Lloyd and Kuzunoha were suddenly caught in chaos as iron constructs struck, forcing them to react defensively. The constructs seemed to be part of the school's guard setup, swamping the pair with set strikes. A dark figure watched from the dark, smiling mysteriously, hinting at a deeper plan behind the construct's steps. Lloyd and Cannon met a sudden horde of constructs dropping onto the school grounds, their weapons held high. Lloyd saw the units, usually protectors of pupils, were striking instead, leaving him confused about the route. He cast his guardian arts, moving into its second form, and ready to face the various constructs surrounding them. Lloyd cut the guiding magic, instantly halting all the constructs, leaving them collapsed around the pupils and campus grounds. Turning to Cannon, Lloyd checked if she was okay, relieved that she stayed safe amid the chaos. The constructs suddenly went wild, driving teachers to order pupils to clear out while Cannon and Lloyd judged the risk. Lloyd received notes from Cannon to run to her spot. Seeing the clear out meant the chaos rose fast. Across the campus, all constructs started striking wildly, breaking events, leaving pupils shocked and moving fast to grasp the sudden disorder. Pupils regrouped under direction, following notes carefully while trying to stay joined, trusting each other amid the massive construct threat. Lloyd and Cannon moved defensively among allies, swearing not to let any damage reach anyone around them. The constructs' count rose again, alarming Lloyd and Cannon, as they saw handling them one by one would no longer work. Lloyd cast Guardian Art's first form, laying out multiple magic lines together, trying to govern the swarming constructs well. He verified all constructs were linked through magic lines, knowing that canceling the source would halt their wild strikes. Despite analyzing the state, Lloyd worried about leaving Cannon alone at the clear-out spot, torn between tactic and cover. Cannon called urgently for Roken's nearby presence, signaling hope as they readied to meet the massive construct threat together. Roken showed himself as the guard of Princess Kuzunoha, stepping forward to shield against the chaos-threatening pupils. Cannon urged Roken to stay by her side, stressing the danger and her need for cover right away. Roken pledged his duty, following Princess Kuzunoha's orders, giving himself to shield those given to his care. Cannon ordered Roken to guard Yuzuriha and herself, stating her power and the speed of shielding Lloyd. Roken accepted without delay, leaving Cannon in Lloyd's care, ready to act firmly against the construct threat coming. Lloyd and Cannon fast readied to follow Roken, accepting his backing while running to tackle the spreading construct threat. They called Sharky, planning to track the source of the wild magic and locate the core cause of chaos. Lloyd resolved to follow the magic lines directly to their start, aiming to halt the constructs and end peril. Cannon watched anxiously as Lloyd and Sharky rushed forward, hoping to reach Princess Kuzunoha safely amid the chaotic field. Tet got orders to follow them, readying to assist the group while holding an eye on the surrounding threats. Tet fought to keep pace, carrying Cannon as Roken moved forward, following the fast-shifting magic source tirelessly. Yueka watched from above, questioning the goals behind the search and whether the focus was truly on the princesses. Roken and allies saw a flaw cause the construct chaos, getting ready to search completely for the endangered princesses. Roken told others to stay at the court, while he and Tet followed Lloyd, making sure proper guidance and cover were kept. Resolved, Roken readied to pay honor to the realm's real master, balancing duty, faith and the ongoing goal's speed. Lloyd and Cannon reached the site where Princess Hiyori had been taken, seeing Adair awaited them. The magic flow was still, unlike past strikes, signaling that something in the place had shifted vastly. Cannon caught a sweet, toxic smell, verifying the presence of the foes while Lloyd guided her safely behind him. Lloyd understood the culprit behind the cases was ahead, resolved to end the strikes and shield the school. A cold laugh echoed, warning Lloyd and Cannon that the core mind behind the chaos had finally shown themselves. Princess Yueka voiced ease, thrilled that Lloyd had come for her, confirming she had been awaiting his arrival. Lloyd, shocked, spoke to Yueka, questioning her presence and goals, struggling to grasp the unexpected reunion in the chaotic state. Yueka revealed she had been awaiting Lloyd all this time, patiently expecting his arrival without doubt. Lloyd recognized her as Sir Vance's friend, fully grasping the link and the value of her aid now. Lloyd's wide-eyed look showed shock and resolve, ready to meet the core mind behind the cases threatening the princesses. Sir Vance entered the dark space, feeling an odd energy. Yuyuka showed up, floating with bright force, and called his name. Yuyuka revealed her plan, detailing she managed strikes across the school to ensure Vance would come. His focus was fully won. She smiled brightly, happy that events went exactly as she had guessed, feeling winning about her careful moves. Vance froze, shocked and unsure, trying to grasp the fast news and her goals. Ideas moved through his mind. How could Yuyuka know him? She had governed everything, leaving him speechless and careful. Yuyuka acknowledged Vance's confusion, detailing her fast news was sudden, and she wished a quieter chat first. Vance fought silently, confused by her words, questioning her steps, and seeking to grasp her reasons clearly. He demanded reasons for her strikes on the princesses, meeting the chaos she had caused with tactic. Yuyuka revealed all steps were to find him, verify his name, and aid him to reclaim himself. She offered thanks for her helpers, seeing Vance's domain magic directly, feeling truly thankful for their help. Vance saw Yuka manage chaos to force him to use his domain Artez, understanding her detailed design. Yuyuka smiled, detailing she had found his old life, and worked tirelessly to aid and guide him. Lloyd, confused, noted she called him Vance, leaving him puzzled by her strange pick of name. Yuyuka showed grief for his isolation, seeing the shifted world, promising backing, and easing his dread in isolation. She offered her hand, asking him to a new domain, claiming she alone truly grasped him completely. Yuyuka pushed Vance to release all his force, thrilled to view the full range of his talents. Vance resisted, refusing to move with her, resolved not to be managed despite her strong push. Yuyuka yelled that he missed her goals, stressing her fight and work for his sake. Vance stated his present task was shielding Kanon and the princesses, holding duty despite her push. He declared he would halt her, stopping further harm and ending the chaos she caused right away. Yuyuka laughed, enjoying the mess, showing humor as she held command over Vance, pulling him closer. Vance fought, shocked by Yuyuka's choice to leave with him, feeling his magic being pulled fast. Yuyuka stated she would break Lloyd completely, reminding Vance of his past as a knight, harsh and cold. She urged him to drop control, claiming his awareness only blocked the path, pushing him to drop fully. Suddenly Kanon showed up, surprising Yuyuka, and questioning her presence, breaking the meeting with her fast arrival. Kanon yelled at Yuyuka, demanding she let go of Lloyd, unable to accept his pain and her harm. Yuyuka scolded Kanon sharply, stating she shouldn't step in or question steps she didn't fully grasp. Kanon admitted her confusion, seeing she didn't grasp the full state or Yuyuka's logic clearly. Despite missing the picture, Kanon resolved to shield anyone hurting before her, refusing to leave those in danger. Yuyuka laughed, mocking Kanon's resolve, stressing her own command over the state and her massive force. Yuyuka angrily blamed Vance, declaring her hate for careless people, faulting him for not grasping outcomes. Kanon fought against Yuyuka's ties, hearing her harsh words about making no real choices or duty. Yuyuka claimed her firm resolve, stressing her costs and the stakes she wagered, claiming she couldn't step back. Kanon saw Yuyuka was someone resolved, who had chosen how to live, contrasting with her own doubt. Kanon thought over her own dread of being distinct, feeling hesitant and unsure next to Yuyuka's faith. Kanon thought over her dread of shift, fighting to pull herself from past leaning and doubt. She saw the hardship of taking individual identity, accepting her feelings and viewing herself as distinct from others. Kanon resolved to act solo, meeting the state on her own, resolved to win Lloyd back from Yuyuka's hold. She declared her choice, battling for her own wants, resolved to shield Lloyd and hold her school life. Lloyd watched Princess Kuzunoha rush forward, her magic force reaching through the hall as she readied to meet the foe. Kuzunoha called mighty beasts, an elephant and a leopard, moving toward her target with steady force. The called beasts advanced, but the foe, quiet and firm, brushed off their strikes, readying a counter with a wave of his palm. The foe released a harsh magic, sweeping through Kuzunoha's called forces, yet she stayed resolved to press her strike. Kuzunoha saw the foe had not meant direct harm, driving a fast shift in plan and understanding between them. Princess Kuzunoha charged forward, resolved to free Lloyd from his ties, her magic force surging around her. She hit an enemy line, shouting her resolve, refusing to let anyone pull Lloyd from her. Kuzunoha called multiple beast spirits, launching them one after another, shocking Lloyd with her relentless force. The fight grew hot as Kuzunoha led the push, guiding her allies through the chaotic meeting. She finally saw familiar faces, including her brother and Professor Yuyuka, signaling backup and hope for their goal. Princess Kuzunoha and allies reached the school roof, ready to meet the foe threatening Lloyd and the town below. The foe judged the state, noting that Kuzunoha had already tracked her target well, leaving only the final task. Kuzunoha concentrated, readying to hit, her drive clear as she met the cornered foe directly. She called multiple constructs, surrounding the foe and readying to swamp them with accuracy and power. Lloyd watched warily as Kuzunoha became completely wrapped by her called forces, ready to carry out her design cleanly. Princess Kuzunoha concentrated on her foes, readying to block incoming strikes from multiple constructs moving fast toward her. She dodged and countered, barely dodging the dropping arms while keeping control over her called beasts. The foe chose it was better to finish Kuzunoha off right, anticipating her next move and closing the distance. Lloyd saw the state was dangerous, watching Kuzunoha wrapped by hostile forces, understanding the risk level she faced. The foes were placed too far for their strikes to land, leaving Kuzunoha and her allies to plan their next design. The Beast Emperor fought to hold calm, seeing his voice might reach those outside his realm during the mess. Aides reminded him to stay quiet, worried about the non-beast realm commoners nearby, stressing the value of leadership. Princess Kuzunoha ready to react to the rising threat, her drive firm as the foe pushed forward. The Beast Emperor saw his individual tie, roaring loudly, signaling his presence and goal to shield his daughter. Kuzunoha and her allies were shaken by the massive roar, shocked by the sudden display of force and noise. Princess Kuzunoha felt her father's roar echo through the battlefield, surprising both her and Lloyd. The constructs failed under the sudden force, showing marks of magic overload as Kuzunoha fought to hold control. She felt the roar strike her heart, giving her unexpected force and drive to keep fighting. Lloyd saw his ties loosen as his magic rose, letting him start breaking free from the ropes. Tet saw Kuzunoha's state, realizing her force came from the Beast Emperor's rallying roar, clearing her from past limits. Princess Kuzunoha and the Beast Emperor released the Beast Realm's top method, a mighty battle cry, shaking the field. The roar raised magic across the space, driving everyone's force to its limits and testing control over their power. Kuzunoha reached out toward Lloyd, focusing her energy and drive to assist him through the mess. She safely landed near Lloyd, bringing him inside reach and making sure he was shielded from the surrounding threat. Kuzunoha and Lloyd met the leftover foes, ready to face the constructs with joined force and design. The Beast Emperor kept projecting his presence, swamping the battlefield with his vast magic and aura. Lloyd finally found the source of the trouble, seeing the foe who had been governing the fight. Princess Kuzunoha saw the foe's risk. If the foe won, it would render Lloyd's work pointless. Suddenly the foe vanished in a flash, leaving both Kuzunoha and Lloyd shocked and ready to answer. Lloyd saw Arsmaria dropping, her body weak as she fell from the cliff's edge. Panic hit him. He saw she no longer fought, having dropped both her battle and drive. The weight of her past acts pressed on him. Resolved, Lloyd stretched his palm forward. His drive was clear. He had to rescue her before she hit the dirt. Arsmaria's hair and gear twisted mid-air as Lloyd cast a round shield, attempting to halt her fall. The shield cracked. Sharky jumped to catch her as Lloyd's guardian arts failed, but the princess was finally saved. Lloyd realized Sharky was too soft to halt Arsmaria's fall. Panic rose as she sped toward the dirt. Arsmaria's drive rejected Lloyd's guardian arts, pushing him away. He fought with the rejection of his guard. Lloyd felt weak. He had never met someone actively turning down rescue, leaving him unsure how to act. He weighed using the anti-war domain, hoping its control over steps could halt Arsmaria's drop safely. Though half done, Lloyd's domain arts reached out. He took Arsmaria's hand, risking everything to finally save her. Princess Kuzunoha urged Lloyd to use her magic. He readied, trusting her plan and willing to follow her lead. Joined, they jumped. Lloyd held tight as Kuzunoha guided their joined forces through the air toward Arsmaria. Their magic joined, building a golden double-layered domain wrapping Arsmaria. Warm light wrapped her as she floated safely. The domain hovered steadily, holding Arsmaria mid-air. Lloyd saw the joined magic was stronger than either of them alone. Time seemed paused. Arsmaria's drop halted, and she stayed suspended above the dirt, confused but unhurt. Arsmaria remembered a familiar shade from her past. It stirred old memories hidden deep in her mind. She looked toward the sky. Light poured across the peaks, reminding her of sunsets long ago. Floating inside the double-layered domain, Arsmaria felt the space and force she had never truly tasted before. Slowly, she dropped safely to the dirt,
the magic backing her every shift and holding her steady. Lloyd and Princess Kuzunoha stepped near her. They had succeeded, and Kuzunoha cheered, honoring the wild rescue together. Arsmeria stared blankly, absorbing the wind around her. Lloyd and Princess Kuzunoha cheered, eased she was safe. She stayed seated, nervous. Lloyd approached warily, unsure if she fully understood her safety yet. Suddenly, a shadow hit Arsmeria. She fought as a dark force bound her, catching all off guard. The second head and another staff member showed up, verifying they had finally taken her. The threat was under command. Arsmeria sat safely, bound but unhurt. The staff thanked Lloyd and Kuzunoha, praising their steps for cutting damage down. The second head spoke to the group. Arsmeria would be held bound and questioned prior to any penalty. Lloyd and Princess Kuzunoha listened quietly, the staff telling them not to detail the events openly. The trio watched as Arsmeria was led away. Lloyd thought over the state, unsure how talks would play out. He weighed asking Professor Yuika about his old life, hoping she might offer direction down the line. With fast peril over, Lloyd and Kuzunoha took a quiet breath, knowing the cases were finally managed. Princess Kuzunoha suddenly remembered a key thing they had missed doing after class. Lloyd looked anxious. They ran, seeing they might have accidentally left someone waiting. Panic drove them to move fast. Kuzunoha tried to recall the specifics of the missed plan, her mind racing as Lloyd followed close. An elder showed up, watching them. He noted their force and grit, traits that marked them as fit for a ruler.
Lloyd reached the wood's opening and saw the Beast Emperor standing tall before him. Kuzunoha's eyes grew wide, recognizing her father. The Beast Emperor nodded slowly, accepting Lloyd's work. Kuzunoha felt both pride and shock at his sudden presence. He praised the wild force inside Kuzunoha. She stood steady, absorbing the weight of his words and duty. Suddenly, another form shouted her name. Kuzunoha turned in shock, seeing backup running toward her, speed marked on their faces. Kuzunoha froze, looking back toward Lloyd. Her mind raced as Yuzuriha showed up, signaling new tests and ties rising from this meeting. Kuzunoha paused, listening close. Yuzuriha stepped forward, quietly telling her it was fine. Strain slowly dropped in the space. Yuzuriha chose to test her path, feeling the duty to act despite doubt. She moved firmly toward the next test. Lloyd watched, seeing Yuzuriha's paths were flawed, yet her drive and heart made her uniquely strong in battle. Kuzunoha squeezed her fists. She knew she had to face herself and shield everything she couldn't afford to lose. After the meeting, Yuzuriha and Kuzunoha agreed to stay joined at the school. Lloyd nodded, watching their new path unfold. Lloyd, the Beast Emperor, and Kuzunoha stood quietly. Strain hung in the air, each weighing the significance of the moment. The Beast Emperor detailed that to become a real guide, he needed to grow solo and grasp the outside world. Kuzunoha thought over, seeing the joy of a realm relied on its leader. Duty and heart guided her thoughts. She pictured the day a fresh beast realm would start, awaiting joy and hope across the land. Kuzunoha and Yuzuriha smiled together, ready to back the coming age, ready to face tests with grit and joy. Kuzunoha glided gracefully above the opening, catching sight of Lloyd. The King of Cats called out, warning all of his presence. Lloyd and Tet turned to him. The King of Cats reminded Lloyd of his true right as the realm's guide. He praised Lloyd, naming him the real guide and symbol of their realm's ideals, admired for freedom and force. The King of Cats verified the realm had restored order and was ready to welcome Lloyd's return. He warned that joining was not peace, stressing that leadership called for more than plain joining, needing sense and mind. Kuzunoha and Yuzuriha glided beside the King of Cats. He detailed peace among beasts means living in their own spaces. The king warned that if the strong keep ruling, the dumb wars of the past will repeat endlessly. The Beast Emperor accepted this truth. He squeezed his hand, agreeing that shift was needed for the future. He thought over that inside the next guide, hope for freedom lives. The future age would embody this ideal. The Beast Emperor gave Kuzunoha to lead, asking the King of Cats to watch her as she brings a fresh age. The Beast Emperor watched Kuzunoha, noting she already held the force he had once sought. Hope filled the space. The King of Cats looked toward the sky, awaiting endless choices for beast folk and a land where space would grow. The Beast Emperor honored Kuzunoha's choices, respecting her resolve to follow freedom while guiding the coming age with care. He told Kuzunoha and Yuzuriha they could stay and read at their own pace until the seat would be officially given. Kuzunoha smiled with faith, stating that she would manage the marriage, taking her role while getting ready for duties ahead. Kuzunoha hugged Yuzuriha tightly, happily declaring they would never be pulled apart. Ease and joy filled the group. Lloyd took a quiet breath. Kuzunoha nodded, verifying that everything was now under control, dropping the strain. Lloyd dropped to his knee before the Beast Emperor, apologizing for past steps and accepting the faith placed on him. The Beast Emperor detailed that Kuzunoha was beyond management, leaving her care in Lloyd's hands while respecting her independence. He teased Lloyd, questioning if this was the partner he couldn't bear to leave, driving shock and laughs. Lloyd nervously spoke up, noting that a mix-up between him and Kuzunoha had yet to be cleared, strain lingering. Kuzunoha thought over, seeing she had never linked so well with anyone besides Yuzuriha, finding a new closeness. Tet reacted loudly, yelling at Kuzunoha to avoid making the state more complex, showing annoyance and concern. Kuzunoha apologized deeply, flustered, while Yuzuriha and Lloyd tried to grasp. Chaos and laughs mixed as they tried to settle it.
At the academy grounds, where the automata rampage from the previous day had left the outer courtyard scarred with rubble and torn banners, Lloyd stood in the middle of the cleanup, his sleeve rolled up, when a boy wearing a formal cap approached and apologized for pulling him into the work despite classes being cancelled. Lloyd brushed off the concern, reminding him that helping out was simply part of being the class representative. The boy thanked him again, mentioning that wind magic should handle whatever damage remained. Nearby, a girl in a white academy uniform reported that her side of the grounds was essentially finished, closing out the immediate repair work. The narration shifted briefly to summarize the previous day's chaos, describing how automata scattered across the academy had gone berserk and caused destruction throughout the grounds, setting up why so many hands were needed for the cleanup. Kanan rushed up to Lloyd, calling him brother. The moment she noticed a scratch along his arm without waiting for him to respond, she pressed her hand against the wound and healed it on the spot, prompting Lloyd to thank her quietly for the small kindness. Lloyd admitted it had been the right choice to bring her along that day, and Kanan smiled warmly, glad to hear him say it directly. Their peaceful moment broke when Suri called out Lloyd's name, startling him. She admitted, half muttering, that Princess Kuzunoha had monopolized his entire day before, and declared she needed to keep a closer watch on him today. Before Lloyd could respond, two beastfolk princesses arrived carrying baskets of food, announcing cheerfully that they had brought something to eat. One of them stumbled over an apology for the previous day, prompting the other to gently correct her wording with a light pinch. Susuri's attention shifted toward Kuu, who mentioned offhandedly that she hadn't seen her during the disturbance the day before and asked if anything had happened. Kuku froze, stammering, while Aurelius quickly cut in and told everyone not to bring up the topic. Before anyone could stop her, though, Kuu blurted out that they had been discussing their relationship with her father and doing group activities together. The previous day sending confusion rippling through the group. Realizing her mistake, Kuu tried to backtrack, insisting that they weren't supposed to talk about that subject. Lloyd, flustered, attempted to clarify that they had simply joined hands and combined their thoughts to solve a problem. But his phrasing only made things sound worse, leaving everyone stunned into silence. Hidden nearby, a group of onlookers gasped in shock, convinced that the persistent rumor about Lloyd and Kuu secretly meeting each other was finally confirmed. Word spread instantly among the Beastfolk students, and the scene escalated into what was being called a three-way rivalry brewing right there on the spot. Kuu insisted she wasn't obligated to share anything she didn't want to, admitting only that she wasn't allowed to say more. Susuri pressed further, telling her that hiding something so obviously left everyone else completely unable to understand the situation. Susuri argued that as class representative she had every responsibility to know what was happening among her classmates, while another girl dismissively muttered that this excuse didn't hold much weight. The two continued arguing, one insisting that just because someone seemed fine with the secrecy didn't mean it was acceptable where Lloyd was concerned, while the other brushed it off, insisting it truly wasn't a big deal. One of the girls turned towards Susuri and bluntly asked if she was actually in love with Lloyd, catching her completely off guard. Susuri's only reaction was a startled, wide "ah." As the question hung in the air, the bystanders shivered nervously at the sudden tension, while Susuri's face flushed a deep shade of red. She stammered that she deeply respected Lloyd, insisting their relationship was strictly one of friends who helped each other, before spiraling into flustered denial, questioning whether she truly lacked feelings of that nature. Elsewhere, Lloyd made his way back toward the castle grounds, unaware of the commotion unfolding behind him. Meanwhile, the girls whispered among themselves, wondering aloud whether this was the start of an oblivious love story and admitting they had no idea how things would unfold from here. Their speculation was interrupted when Aurelius, having been eavesdropping nearby, was discovered hiding in the bushes and declared she wouldn't stand for being exposed like that. Startled at being caught, Aurelius stammered while another princess pointed her out. Asking what exactly she was doing crouched over there, one of the onlookers teased that everyone seemed to have quite the vivid imagination when it came to interpreting the situation. Aurelius straightened up and scolded the group for throwing out wild speculations one after another without ever bothering to ask Lloyd himself what he actually thought about any of it. One of the girls coughed awkwardly in response, while another cried out in surprise at the sudden accusation. Aurelius pressed on, declaring firmly that it should have been obvious from the very start that Kuzunoha was never capable of giving anyone a proper explanation, closing the chapter on yet another round of chaotic misunderstandings among the princesses. Lloyd stammered an apology as Aurelius stood beside him, her expression composed as she addressed the group with a formal "now then, Your Excellency," urging him to continue explaining the situation about their supposed relationship that had sparked so much confusion. Cuckoo covered her face, admitting that this chaos was exactly what happened whenever someone asked her brother to explain things. Lloyd clarified that he had simply been trying to figure out a way for the two of them to stay together at school, which only made Susiri repeat the phrase "stay together" in stunned disbelief, while another girl whispered that this was the moment Princess Kuzunoha had come up with the idea. Susiri pressed further, asking if Yuzuriha and Kanon had also been present with them at the time. Ku simply replied with a surprised "oh," before dissolving into frustration, crying out that she truly wasn't good at explaining things and complaining that her head hurt from trying. Yuzuriha let out a long sigh, admitting that for some reason she found herself agreeing with Kushu on this point. Beside her, another girl added that it might be better to simply let the two of them suffer the consequences of their own actions, noting dryly that they had already sunk their own lifeboat. Lloyd and Ku both reacted with alarmed cries of "what?" at being written off so easily. One of the girls threw her hands up dramatically, declaring this a genuine love quarrel, a real live love quarrel, and insisting that nobody was allowed to leave until the whole truth had been laid bare. Confusion spread further when she referred to "our little sisters," prompting others to ask what exactly she meant, while everyone groaned about how strict the sisters in question tended to be. Away from the commotion, a shadowed figure watched the academy grounds from a distance, half hidden in darkness. Silhouetted against a tall window, the figure raised a hand slowly, fingers stretching outward as though reaching towards something unseen, radiating a tense, deliberate stillness that stood in stark contrast to the chaos unfolding elsewhere. The same figure moved with sudden sharp motion, robes flaring as an arc of light burst outward. Reflected in the glow, a cat-eared girl turned her head instinctively toward the disturbance. Off to the side, the figure let out a low, unsettling laugh, repeating, "Heh," as if satisfied by whatever had just been set into motion. A hand rested deliberately atop a thick, weathered book, confirming without doubt that this had been the antiwar domain. Though it hadn't lingered there for long, the domain Artes it once held had already been unleashed into the world before vanishing from that place. Standing beneath falling rain, one of the princesses spread her arms triumphantly, declaring that there was no mistaking it. She had found another piece of the Heavenly Emperor. Her voice rang out with excitement as she announced that she had finally located another one, the rain streaking down around her as thunder illuminated the sky behind her. From a nearby window, the shadowed figure murmured, "In that case," before the scene shifted to the cat-eared girl standing amid dense shrubbery, her expression unreadable as she turned partway toward whoever stood behind her. A quiet question hung in the air, "What about her?" leaving the moment suspended in tension as the chapter drew toward its next turn. At the Magic Academy Dean's office, where a knock preceded a cheerful voice calling out, "Welcome," a girl with an eye patch spun around energetically before her expression settled at the sight of the visitor. She recognized Kuan, who explained she had come to report on how things were proceeding, prompting the girl's shoulders to droop slightly at the mundane reason for the interruption. Kuan continued her report, noting that Vice President Matilda was currently interrogating former Chief Yuyuka, who remained in captivity. Yuyuka had refused to reveal her motive or goals, staying silent through the entire process, which left the investigation at a dead end. Kuan added that at least Yuyuka hadn't leaked any sensitive information regarding the executive department. The girl mused quietly that people who had a place in the current world simply couldn't understand how blessed they truly were. She noted that even if someone tried to explain it to them, people like that would never grasp the real reason behind the executive department's existence. Kuan commented that she seemed to be in an unusually good mood today. The girl agreed instantly, admitting it was true. Her excitement barely contained. She laughed brightly, declaring that she would finally get to meet directly with the God-tier guardian. Beside her, Lloyd walked alongside her through the academy hallway, clearly the subject of her anticipation. The girl reassured him that everything would be fine. Though Lloyd still looked nervous at the thought of meeting the dean. She mentioned that the last time she had spoken with the dean about this, he had said he wished to meet Lloyd himself, adding that she was certain he would be happy to see him. Lloyd could only hope she was right. Standing before the office door, Lloyd knocked and offered a polite greeting as he entered, silently hoping he could live up to the expectations of someone who wasn't just the dean but also known as the kaleidoscope prodigy. The girl grabbed his hand enthusiastically the moment he stepped inside, exclaiming that she finally got to meet the God-tier guardian in person, and greeting him warmly with a cheerful "nice to meet you." She introduced herself as Camille Lansford, thanking Professor Mayuria for her assistance the other day as several figures spun into view around them. She added that, thanks to Lloyd, they had been able to respond quickly during the recent incident, calling it truly a blessing from the gods. Lloyd admitted the whole exchange felt strangely anticlimactic given how much build-up there had been. Camille agreed with an awkward laugh before brightening again, insisting there was no need to be so nervous since the two of them were the same age. Camille explained that Professor Yuyuka had been an incredibly capable researcher. Though her personality carried some noticeable flaws, she admitted the recent incident had been a shock to everyone involved, and personally apologized to Lloyd for all the trouble Yuyuka had caused him. A sudden flash caught Lloyd's attention. He recognized the object immediately as Fried's spear, the sight of it striking him with unexpected recognition. Camille remarked that the spear certainly had a presence to it, admitting jokingly that she wasn't good at fighting herself, so it mostly stayed there as decoration. Lloyd stared at it, quietly repeating that spear under his breath, clearly caught off guard by its familiarity. Camille explained that Professor Yuyuka had taken the spear from her office without permission, remarking that the woman really did know how to cause trouble. Lloyd studied it closely, recalling that it was said to be a spear used by one of Camille's predecessors. A portrait loomed above them, depicting an older man standing regally. Camille gestured toward it casually, identifying the figure as the very first dean of the academy, though she added dismissively that she didn't particularly care about him either way. Lloyd studied the portrait carefully, admitting he hadn't recognized the man at first since his face had aged and wrinkled so much. Slowly, realization dawned on him. It was Fried, an older version of the man he remembered. Camille smirked, remarking that it had been unexpected for Professor Yuyuka to let herself get caught so easily. She thanked Lloyd sincerely for his help in resolving the incident. Later, surrounded by tall shelves in the academy library, Lloyd flipped through old records, reflecting quietly. He admitted he'd had no idea that Fried had gone on to lead this very academy after the war ended. It was something he could have easily discovered if he had simply bothered to look. He suspected he might have been unconsciously avoiding it, even though he could have found this information easily while searching for Ars Meria. A memory surfaced from the pages before him. Fried stood before him in the vision, declaring that he wished to entrust the future to Lloyd. Lloyd, in the memory, asked if Fried intended to head toward Her Majesty. Fried admitted that compared to Lloyd, he still had so much further to go, expressing a quiet wish that he could have found out about the events following that incident 1,000 years ago, and that he had wanted to compete with Lloyd once again. The final pages revealed a somber truth. The record noted that Fried's battle had ended alongside the completion of the domain, and that Ars Meria's passing followed soon after. Lloyd read the words carefully, admitting quietly that some part of him had already believed that outcome to be true. A memory unfolded quietly as Lloyd reflected on how he had stopped time itself, turning those events into beautiful memories he could hold onto. He admitted that in the end he had wished only to stay by her side, watching over the future that stretched ahead. In the vision, Fried stood with his spear raised beside the fading form of Ars Meria, her figure dissolving into light and shadow. He confessed he had never even considered what would happen after their passing, or what would become of those left behind. Once they were gone, tears welled in Lloyd's eyes as the weight of the memory settled over him. Fried's voice echoed through the scene, acknowledging that Lloyd had persevered for decades in a struggle that history would never record. He admitted he hadn't even tried to find out how much Lloyd had suffered protecting the Heavenly Empire, confessing plainly that he had never once considered how Lloyd truly felt. Fried continued, recalling that back then Lloyd's eyes had seemed to accuse and punish him for failing to understand the burden and solitude placed upon him after losing both his friend and his master in the same moment. He admitted, it was no surprise that Lloyd had come to resent him for it. The memory faded, pulling Lloyd back to the present inside the academy library. Ku stood close beside him, having pinched his cheek gently to snap him out of his thoughts. He let out a small surprised sound as her touch brought him back to the quiet rows of bookshelves surrounding them. The weight of the past momentarily set aside. Lloyd walked through the academy library, lost in thought until he bumped into someone stepping out from between the shelves. He apologized only to see Princess Yuzuriha rubbing her head from the collision. She brightened at once, greeting him warmly, though she noted with mild surprise that he was still there alone without her twin sister Kuzunoha by his side as usual. Lloyd blinked at her observation, unsure how to respond. Yuzuriha asked if it was strange for them to be seen apart. She reminded him that she and Kuzunoha did almost everything together, from meals to baths to sleeping in the same bed, teasing him as memories of the twins' bickering and play. Fighting rushed through his mind. Yuzuriha's smile faltered. She admitted that during the recent incident, her sister had left her behind. The confession hung heavy in the air. Lloyd said nothing, only recalling the empty portrait frame he had seen earlier, a symbol of the distance that had grown between the two sisters despite their closeness. Standing alone, Lloyd thought back over what happened. He understood now that the incident had not been born from carelessness, but from Kuzunoha's desperate effort to find a way for both sisters to remain at the academy together. Her actions, however painful they seemed, came from love for her sister Yuzuriha. The memory sharpened. Kuzunoha had not wanted to abandon her twin. She refused to keep lying to herself any longer and chose instead to face her responsibilities head-on. She had not brought Yuzuriha along that day only because Yuzuriha had already been safely evacuated beforehand. Lloyd recalled the words he once spoke to Kuzunoha, hoping from the bottom of his heart that she and her sister could remain unchanging, preserving the bond between them no matter what challenges came their way. He had told her plainly that the two of them were closer than any other pair he knew. Yuzuriha thanked him, her voice trembling with emotion as she embraced the thought. Lloyd stood still, saying nothing. His mind turning inward, he saw himself as someone who once left another person behind too, and the weight of that memory pressed on him. He wondered what he could possibly do to make things right. His thoughts drifted back further to a hillside where he once trained under open skies. His sparring partner, the great white fox spirit Tet, faced him with sharp claws bared, declaring this would be their final match, promising no restraint this time. Lloyd admitted softly that he had simply been feeling lonely. Elsewhere, voices murmured about duty and appearances. Someone spoke of having Tet appear at the Beast Empire ceremony in place of another, explaining that doing so would resolve the various problems that would have otherwise required her presence there. It was called unavoidable, a necessary sacrifice for the sake of peace. Tet's sharp eyes gleamed as she recalled how the Golden Lion's princess had once saved a friend's life. Lloyd voiced his surprise that Tet would go so far for someone else. In response, she lunged forward with a fierce slash, declaring she would take this victory as a souvenir to carry back to her homeland. Their clash intensified across the open field. Lloyd unleashed his Guardian Art's second form, transforming his defensive magic into a towering cage known as the Guardian Wall Fortress. Tet noted with sharp interest how sturdy the walls were, difficult to break from within, recognizing it as a way to restrain an enemy without causing harm. The barrier shattered under her claws moments later. Tet understood then that Lloyd had built such techniques specifically so he could protect others. Even those his guardian arts could not normally affect, Lloyd only replied that she would be fine. Even after he was gone, though, she brushed off his reassurance simply. Beneath the training, bruises, and exhaustion, Lloyd admitted something deeper. He confessed that he needed to grow stronger, that he had been feeling powerless lately. Tet studied him and told him plainly that what he lacked was not more training. She reminded him that once she left, he would have no one left to spar with. Lloyd looked at her, confused by her words. Tet elaborated further, saying the greatest problem he would face after her departure was not the loss of a sparring partner, but the loss of someone before whom he could show his weaker, more vulnerable side without fear of judgment. Lloyd questioned why she would care about that, asking why she needed him at all. Tet answered without hesitation, refusing his self-doubt outright. She asked if he considered her a friend, someone he needed simply for the sake of sparring, or something more meaningful than that. Tet studied him, noting that although he revealed small glimpses of his true self before her, he always made sure to draw a line, keeping others from ever getting too close. It was a habit she recognized well, one built from guardedness rather than indifference. A memory surfaced then, of Lloyd laughing alongside another boy, arms slung around each other's shoulders in easy companionship. Tet's voice echoed over the image, telling him what he needed. Right now was a friend, urging him not to shoulder every burden alone. Lloyd's younger self only insisted that he had to. The memory darkened. A shadowed figure spoke bitterly, saying he did not deserve understanding and would never find it. admitting he had left that friend behind long ago. Lloyd's expression turned somber as he confessed he could never create that kind of friendship again. Certain the chance had already slipped away. Tet sat beside him, her voice gentle but firm. She asked whether two people truly needed to fully understand each other to become friends, pointing out that the two of them barely knew anything about one another. Yet as long as they spent time together and thought of each other, those feelings alone could form real bonds. Back in the present, Yuzuriha spoke, saying she might not fully understand everything, but she could not simply abandon someone suffering right in front of her eyes. She admitted she would feel terrible for her sister if she dismissed those feelings outright. Lloyd's thoughts settled on a quiet truth. Protecting the princesses had always been his primary goal, his singular focus since the day he awakened to his mission. Yet he realized they had also saved him in turn, pulling him back when darkness threatened to consume him and standing by him when he had once been captured. That was how he had lived in the past, and it remained the role he was placed in now. He looked toward the group, each princess carrying her own strength and her own history beside his. As their friend, he remembered how combining their powers together had once allowed him to unleash a spell far beyond what he could manage alone. It made him wonder if such bonds could carry him closer to his true ideal, the dream of protecting everything and everyone he cared for. His mind drifted back to Tet once more, her voice steady as she admitted she had always been a loner, never forming a flock of her own until the day she met him in that forest. It was that meeting, she said, which made her begin to think that having a friend was not such a bad thing after all. Lloyd only smiled faintly at the memory. Tet spoke again beneath the stars, telling him she looked forward to the day they would meet again. Lloyd answered with quiet resolve, promising he would become even stronger than he was now. He told her plainly that he was glad to have met her, glad to have become her friend through everything they had faced together. He thought of change then, admitting to himself that he had to change too. He needed to believe in his friends and combine his strength with theirs rather than carrying every burden alone silently. He asked forgiveness for moving forward, hoping that this time he would not lose sight of the bonds that mattered most to him. Turning to the princesses gathered around him, Win, Rosalie, and the others watched with curious expressions as Lloyd stepped forward. He admitted there was something he needed all of their advice on, his voice steady despite the weight behind the request, ready at last to lean on the people closest to him instead of standing alone. Advice. Lloyd repeated the word back to himself while the princesses waited. Warm encouragement came from each of them in turn, promises to help with whatever troubled him, an honor that he'd chosen to come to them first. Gratitude crossed his face before he began explaining. Kuzunoha listened as her sister spoke up first, a blunt question about the state of their bond hanging in the air. Yuzuriha explained that the twins had managed to stay together at the academy, yet their personal crisis had crashed straight into the recent incident there, leaving them split apart both physically and emotionally. Something in her voice suggested Yu had been carrying that weight alone. Cuckoo added that the sisters had been separated during the evacuation, right around the time she and Lloyd carried out their fake lover plan, loneliness. She guessed, must have settled over Yu during that stretch, cut off from the one person she always turned to. Praise for her sister followed next. Ku pointed out that Kuzunoha had kept Yuzuriha safe while handling the source of the problem at the same time. Proof enough of her sharp instincts and her fitness as a future ruler. Win raised a hand beside them, asking permission to add something of her own. Why don't we create an opportunity for them to have a discussion? Win's suggestion came out calm and measured. A simple fix for a problem that felt anything but simple. A scoff from Rosalie cut through the moment. Rambling followed, a reminder that the academy had been founded historically as a place built for reconciliation. Her proposal, give both sides room to state their case until understanding took hold naturally. At least I offered a suggestion, Win shot back, unlike someone who only knows how to disparage the ideas of others. Rosalie's response came just as sharp, an accusation that Kuzunoha couldn't explain herself to save her life, and a dismissal of Win's plan as something that looked fine on paper but fell apart the moment it met reality. Confusion over Win's constant fault, finding spilled out of Rosalie next, paired with a defense of the Holy Empire's respect for its people's wisdom. Win's question cut back just as fast. Why did Rosalie always have to be so relentlessly logical about everything? Something shifted in Rosalie's tone. A memory surfaced, an admission that Win hadn't always been this sharp. Edged, Kuzunoha's hand clenched at her side, the comment landing closer to old wounds than either of them intended. Ryunia's name rang out suddenly, breaking the tension wide open. We're not putting on a show here, Rosalie insisted, while Kuzunoha, caught mid-thought, admitted she'd been close to grasping something important before the whole conversation derailed. An apology came from Win. A wave of the hand dismissed it from Kuzunoha in return. Both of your opinions were on the mark. Lloyd stepped between them, though he acknowledged one problem: Kuzunoha wasn't exactly gifted at open communication. What they needed, he said, was a way to get the twins actually talking to each other, something that could untangle the misunderstanding directly. A shrug followed, then a question tossed back to the group. Did anyone have an idea that could combine both approaches, something structured enough to guide things without forcing the moment? Games weren't Win's area of expertise, she admitted. Ku thought aloud instead, recalling how proactive the twins had been during the recent magic festival. Her eyes lit up a moment later. I got it. We could have the two of them play a game. I believe they'd enjoy that. A yelp escaped Yuzuriha as Ku leaned in close, delighted, agreeing with herself before anyone else could. Rosalie's laugh carried a sly edge as she announced she had the perfect party game in mind. Curiosity crossed Lloyd's face at her sudden burst of confidence. A dramatic pose came first, arms thrown wide before the name landed with a flourish. The Heavenly Emperor game. Both Lloyd and the others startled at the sudden theatrics behind the announcement. Rules followed in quick succession. Players would draw lots, and whoever pulled the rainbow one became the Heavenly Emperor, free to make a request of any other color present. A twist came with the Heavenly Contract, though. Whatever color got asked could turn around and demand the same thing back, a built-in balance meant to keep things fair and fun. For everyone involved, a teasing whisper followed, a warning about romantic accidents that tended to happen during this particular game. Exactly the type Lloyd secretly enjoyed. Protest came fast from him. Disbelief that such a game even existed, an argument that it sounded disrespectful toward the very idea of an emperor. Giggling. Ku told him all the kids played it these days. Anyway, a scolding came from Win next, aimed straight at Rosalie for teaching Hiyori such strange things, while Ku tried covering the younger princess's ears entirely. Elise, meanwhile, pushed her glasses up with sudden enthusiasm. I think this is a good idea. We should try it. Hands rose in mock surrender from Ku, a plea for calm. Firmness carried Lloyd's reminder instead. Don't lose sight of the actual goal here, which was repairing the sisters' relationship, not turning the whole plan into something else. A problem surfaced from Win. The twins would grow suspicious the moment anyone suggested a game without a proper reason attached. Agreement came from Elise, a warning that things would go badly fast if those sharp, instinctive sisters caught on to the plan. Uncertain glances passed between them, nobody quite sure what to do next. How about we tell them that we want to hold a class party? Lloyd's proposal came out carefully, an idea meant to use the gathering as a chance for the twins to talk things through naturally, and have the two of them help out from the beginning during the planning stage. Beside him, Rosalie added her own hope for the plan, that everyone could take part and actually enjoy the party rather than treating it as some hidden scheme. I want to. A pause settled over Lloyd's face before the rest came out. Form closer bonds with everyone here, if possible. Wide eyes turned toward him from the princesses gathered close, surprise flickering across more than one expression at the sudden sincerity behind his words. In that case, I can't hold back, Rosalie declared, delight sparking behind her grin. A giggle followed from Elise, quiet amusement wrapped around a simple promise. This would be fun. Determination flashed across Ku's face next, a flustered agreement escaping her all the same. Oh, of course. Form closer bonds. Yeah. Lloyd's answer came out quick, catching himself off guard. Win turned toward the group with quiet resolve. In that case, let's begin preparations. A stare lingered between Lloyd and Rosalie a moment longer than either seemed to expect. Want to get to know you better, she admitted. Finally, the words landing softer than her usual tone. Thursday, thank you, Lloyd managed, caught between surprise and something gentler. Excitement bubbled out of Yuzuriha the instant the word reached her. A party? Kuzunoha's face lit up beside her, matching enthusiasm rising fast. Let's do it! A quiet pause crossed Lloyd's expression, as he watched the sisters bounce with energy. Okay, Kuzunoha, came Yuzuriha's teasing voice next, mischief already brewing behind her smile. Let's prepare all sorts of pranks, Yuzuriha. Kuzunoha shot back, matching grin spreading wide. Magic sparked between three sets of hands as preparations got underway, small orbs of light drifting between eager fingers. Concentration settled over Lloyd next, gathered close with Rosalie and Ku around a makeshift workstation, notes and tools scattered across the table between them. Elsewhere, sparks flew from another corner of the room, a small explosion catching Win off guard as she worked alongside a startled companion. Does everyone have their drinks? The question rang out over the crowd, a cup raised high above the noise. Cheers erupted through the decorated hall, balloons swaying overhead as the party swelled to life around them. If so, the moment stretched, anticipation building across every gathered face, then let the special class party begin. The special class gathered together for a sudden celebration inside the academy hall, balloons and banners hanging above their heads. Chatter filled the room as the students mingled, still surprised at how quickly the party had been arranged. With classes suspended for the day, one of the princesses remarked that the timing could not have been better for everyone to relax together. Kanon presented a tiered stand loaded with sweets she had prepared herself, offering them to everyone in the room. The girls gasped at the sight of the pastries stacked neatly on each layer. One of the princesses admitted she had heard about Kanon's cooking skill beforehand, but tasting it in person left her far more impressed than she expected. Two of the beast princesses revealed a batch of scented sachets they had crafted for the occasion, drawing curious looks from the others. Before anyone could relax, they added a warning that some of the sachets secretly contained prank cookies instead of decorations. Neither of them would say which bags held the trick, insisting the surprise was part of the fun. Though it left the listeners uneasy, one of the girls bit into her sachet without hesitation, triggering a burst of magic. Her hairstyle shifted instantly, drawing surprised reactions from those nearby. The princess responsible for handing out the sachets assured everyone the transformation was harmless and temporary, promising it would wear off before the party ended. Another princess reacted far more dramatically to her own transformation, flailing as her hair changed shape and ribbons attached themselves to her outfit. The girl beside her noted that the whole reaction seemed excessive for such a minor trick, since the magic hidden in the cookies was nothing serious to begin with. Lloyd called two smaller figures over to him, coaxing them closer with open arms. The onlookers gasped at how adorable the pair looked now that their sachets had triggered a minification spell, shrinking them down considerably from their usual size. One of the miniaturized princesses clung tightly to Lloyd, calling him brother while pressing herself against him nervously. Elsewhere, two other girls whispered to each other that her behavior mirrored exactly how Kanon used to act when she was younger. Lloyd fought to keep his composure, forcing himself to resist the urge to dote on her the way a parent might. Kanon commented that the two miniaturized princesses likely would not be able to fulfill their earlier role properly given their current state. Lloyd immediately understood her meaning, recalling that the pair had been assigned to arrange the twins together during the next game. The girls exchanged a worried glance, wondering if their shrunken forms would still let them carry out the plan to secretly pair people up so their true feelings could surface during the upcoming Heavenly Emperor game. Before they could finish the thought, the two of them dashed off suddenly, leaving the others calling after them in confusion. One of the shrunken princesses floated helplessly through the air, completely unrestrained compared to how composed she usually behaved. Erisiel reached out and grabbed her, startled by just how different her friend seemed while affected by the spell. Lloyd turned to the two small princesses and asked if they could watch over the group while he and the others played the next round of the game. Both agreed at once, their voices overlapping in enthusiasm. The children nearby swung around excitedly, delighted that Lloyd had been chosen to represent the Heavenly Empire in the coming match. One of the girls asked if the group was already moving into the Heavenly Emperor game between the princesses, watching the preparations unfold. The organizer began distributing magical tools to every participant, instructing them to keep their assigned colors hidden from one another. She explained that whoever received the rainbow-colored tool would become the Heavenly Emperor and gain the authority to issue a single order. With everyone ready, she gave the signal to activate the devices. Light burst from the tools as the colors were revealed. One of the horned princesses looked down at her own device and realized she was the one who had drawn the rainbow color, becoming the Heavenly Emperor for this round. Lloyd noted internally that the first round was meant to be completely random, setting up a scenario where two particular players would be forced to talk, which in turn would create an opening for the Beast Princesses to have their own conversation. Considering her options as the new Heavenly Emperor, the princess paused thoughtfully. Lloyd braced himself, aware that whatever mood was set for the round now rested entirely in her hands. She announced her decision, choosing Lloyd as the first player, then declared her request that the blue and purple players swap outfits. Lloyd asked who the other assigned player was, only to freeze when he realized it was the very same princess who had made the order. Lloyd insisted they could not undress in front of everyone, prompting immediate arrangements to move him and his partner into a private room to change. The princess assured him there was no need for concern, explaining that her armor had been shaped from her own mana and fit whoever wore it, making it simple to remove, despite its intimidating appearance. Lloyd emerged wearing her armor, and the surrounding princesses admired how much he resembled a knight pulled straight from a fairy tale. Meanwhile, questions arose from those curious about how the horned princess looked wearing his outfit in return. Standing in Lloyd's oversized clothing, The princess studied herself and noted how strange the situation felt, since their heights were roughly similar yet the garment hung far too loosely on her frame. As the tension built, the organizer teased the next random selection aloud. The princess suddenly voiced discomfort over how tightly her borrowed outfit clung to her, urging everyone to keep the game moving quickly instead of lingering on the moment. Lloyd, caught in the middle of the exchange, could only ask what exactly was happening around him. The Heavenly Emperor gave her second order, declaring that the red player was to confess their true feelings to the blue player. She raised her chosen tool proudly, announcing herself as the one holding the color that had just been called. One of the caretakers grabbed Ariziel, telling her that someone wanted to speak with her directly. Aurelis stepped forward, surprised to see her name attached to the moment. Ariziel asked bluntly if she had something to confess. Questioning whether Aurelis could actually manage it, Aurelis hesitated for a long moment before blurting out a simple request, asking Ariziel if she would be her friend. Ariziel stared back at her, quiet at first before a small smile broke across her face as she agreed without any further hesitation. The two caretakers exchanged looks with the two princesses now speaking so openly, unable to understand how their charges had grown into people so different from before. Kuzunoha admitted she had no idea what had led to this change, while Yuzuriha wondered aloud what exactly was happening in front of them. Watching Aurelis and Ariziel together, the pair simply fell silent. Kuzunoha murmured that things might really have been this simple back when they were all younger, watching the two princesses interact so easily. Nearby, the caretakers shifted awkwardly under the weight of the moment, while Lloyd stayed silent, observing everything without a word. The Heavenly Emperor decided to pull the two caretakers into the game as well, calling out Kuzunoha directly and ordering her to confess something to Yuzuriha. Kuzunoha stiffened at the sudden demand, unsure how to respond, while Yuzuriha blinked in confusion, asking if she was expected to do the same thing in return.